Working at CBP isn't like any other job. Our hiring process has several steps, but each one is necessary to make sure we're hiring people who are qualified and capable of doing this work. So if you're interested in CBP, here's what you need to know to complete our hiring process successfully for CBP officer positions. Let's go step by step. First, you apply. You can find open positions through our website or usajobs.gov. You'll answer questions regarding your experience and readiness for the position and submit your resume, transcripts, and documents to verify your age and whether you're a veteran. After submitting your application, you'll be asked to complete a self-assessment called the Candidate Experience Record that tells us about your prior work experience and education. Then you'll take an entrance exam that tests your logical reasoning at an in-person facility. Both are important measures of whether you'll perform well at CBP. Then we'll review your exam results, your resume, and the other documents you submitted. Your resume is important, so be sure it's well written. It should help us understand your prior experience in education and why you're qualified and motivated to join CBP. If everything looks good, congratulations, you'll have a conditional offer. The next steps are important, and you can help your application move quickly by preparing for them and completing them on time. After you receive your conditional offer, we'll send you an email with instructions for your national background investigation and your interviews. The MBI questionnaire asks for a lot of information, and it's essential that you fill it out completely and truthfully. Failing to provide all required information the first time can significantly lengthen your hiring process. Next come your interviews. The structured interview consists of a two-person panel. They'll ask questions designed to measure your decision-making, emotional maturity, interpersonal skills, and more, seeking to understand if you have the competencies to be a successful member of our team. The pre-screening interview is designed to measure your likelihood of passing the background investigation. After you complete your MBI questionnaire, you'll receive an email to initiate your medical exam. The medical exam includes a medical history review, physician exam, and a vision and hearing test. Jobs at CBP are demanding, and we need to make sure you're medically and physically capable of performing the job safely. You will be responsible for scheduling your tests and submitting your medical documentation, so make sure you submit all the documentation requested. And be aware that CBP medical staff may call or email to request follow-up information. You'll also receive an email with instructions for your physical fitness test. If you're concerned about passing, the physical fitness test is something you can train for before you even apply. The earlier you get started, the better. See our website for more information and a suggested training plan. CBP requires every employee to be of good conduct and good character. That means all selected applicants need to go through the next 3 steps. The Polygraph helps us verify applicants have no compromising personal issues or past behavior that would reflect poorly on their ability to be a responsible, reliable member of our team. For the background investigation, an investigator will verify the information you provided on your MBI questionnaire, including interviewing you, the personal and professional references you provide, and others. The drug test will verify that there are no concerns about your use of controlled substances. See our website for more information about the polygraph, the background investigation, and the drug test. If everything looks good, then you're in. You'll receive your offer to join our community and be a part of our mission. Be prepared. Our hiring process can be lengthy, and there are some things that'll be out of your control, like the time it takes to schedule your polygraph, or to review and process your exam results. But there are many things that are in your control and that you can do to help your application go through faster. Read all instructions thoroughly, provide all information requested, and complete and submit all forms and documentation as soon as possible. And we may ask you to do multiple steps at once to help speed the process along. And remember, CBP is here to help you along the way. You'll be notified of each action or step you need to complete via email, and you can contact the Hiring Center at any point if you need help or have questions. It's a rigorous process because it's a rigorous job. We're here to help and to make sure that once you're hired, you're ready to go beyond. If you're interested in applying, join our talent network to learn more. or head to careers.cbp.gov/s/search-careers to start your application.
Good afternoon, and welcome to CBP Career Chat, hosted by HRM Management Office. I'm Tammy Melvin with the Office of Public Affairs. Today, we'll explore exciting careers with CBP. Each segment will focus on a law enforcement path, starting with AMO operations, Air Marine operations, followed by the Office of Field Operations, and ending with the U.S. Border Patrol. Thank you for joining us, and let's get started. Kicking off today's event are representatives from AMO along with Michael Russell, an HR specialist from CBP's Hiring Center. Let's start with you, Pat. Can you share some opportunities with the AMO office?
Yes. Hi, I'm Patrick Sweeney. I'm a supervisory air interdiction agent. I'm assigned to Headquarters Air and Marine Operations in Washington, D.C. We do have some exciting opportunities within AMO for careers. One of our opportunities is going to be for air interdiction agent position. And the air interdiction agent is going to be a pilot who's also a law enforcement officer who's going to pilot fixed wing aircraft, rotary wing aircraft, as well as unmanned aircraft. And we are located throughout the southern border, throughout the southeastern region, as well as our northern border. These positions are going to be highly sought after. A lot of career advancement and career training opportunities as well. Opportunities to go between different aircraft and learn new skill sets as well too.
We have a question. Do you have to have a high school diploma to join AMO?
And Mike?
Yep, there are certain certifications that you have to have belong to AMO, as listed out in the USA Jobs announcement. You'll find that. Also, you go to cbp.gov careers. You can find AMO and look exactly what the requirements are. There are certain certifications and requirements that you must possess to pursue a career with AMO.
Are polygraph required for all positions?
For all the law enforcement positions, that's a great question, Tammy. Yes, it is required for all CBP law enforcement positions. There is a polygraph requirement.
Okay. Can you elaborate a little bit on the polygraphs, the pass fail option if a candidate fails the first time? Will they have another opportunity? Cedro, I'll let you answer this question.
I'll refer it over to Mike for that.
Okay.
That's a very specific.
Yeah, hey Tammy, that's a great question and makes a lot of people really nervous about the polygraph examination. You want to avoid going down the Reddit, rabbit hole. Make sure that you're looking at our cbp.gov sites. We do have a great video that's out there that will brief you through the polygraph. But to the specific question, Tammy, if you fail the polygraph, there's a 2-year wait. And we increased that or reduced that waiting period several years ago. It used to be a 3-year wait. Now it's a 2-year wait if you do fail that polygraph. Great question, Tammy.
Okay. I have another question that came in. Can a person come in with a beard, or?
Yeah, I can take that, Tammy. Thank you for asking. Yes, for our journeyman level agents, marine interdiction agents or air interdiction agents, and air enforcement agents, you are allowed a beard. It changes once you become a supervisor or once you've come to headquarters. But for journeymen, you are allowed a beard.
Okay. And can you give me a little information about the hiring process, the timing to onboard once applying and being brought on board? What was your experience?
For my experience, I came in legacy, so 2008 time period before everything changed, before polygraph was brought in. So my experience is very short. I actually worked out of headquarters, and so during my time, my process, it was very condensed. It was just because I already possessed a top secret SCI clearance, I rolled right into pretty much the physical requirements. I was able to do a mile and a half run in less than 16 and a half minutes. I was able to knock out my push-ups, my sprint, and I was able to go to my basic academy, followed on by my maritime law enforcement training program academy. So back then, the training was much longer than it is now. Now it's 14 and a half weeks for a basic academy, and for the maritime law enforcement training program, it is 4 weeks.
Okay. Did the TSSCI kind of expedite your onboarding?
Yes.
You believe?
Yes, it made the process much smoother for me. I already had the clearance level, so I was able to just transfer my clearance over to the new position.
And the TSSCI, was this something that you obtained in a prior career?
Yes, so I started my career here in headquarters. I actually started as an intern. So I was a GS1 when I started. Back in, actually my interview was 9/11, and I never made it because 9/11 occurred. So that's pretty much what kind of made me want to be law enforcement, was being impacted by what occurred during 9/11. So for me, I was working my way up, and I started working on different programs. I dealt with intelligence, and because of that, in those programs that I was assigned to, my clearance level, I was granted a top secret SCI clearance. And then, going over to the law enforcement part, it was an easy transition period for me.
Okay. Russ, tell us if the TSSCI is that clearance required prior to applying, or is that something?
It is not. The polygraph examination, as well as the background investigation, is what's required. Having a top secret clearance, potentially, if you do have an active top secret clearance, CI clearance, there's opportunities where you may request a waiver for the polygraph. Great question, Tammy.
Well, thank you. Pat, can you give me a little bit more information on the duties of an air interdiction agent, the day in the life of one?
Absolutely. Well, before I was assigned to headquarters, I was assigned to the McAllen Air and Marine Branch in McAllen, Texas. While I was assigned there, I was a A-star helicopter pilot, and the day in the life was very dynamic for us. So we would show up to work, and you would attend a morning brief. And in your morning brief, we would go over operational requirements of the day, from weather to previous things passed over from another shift. And then you would go and get an aircraft assignment if you were assigned to fly that day. So if you were going to fly, you'd find out whether you're going to have another crew member with you or whether you're going to be by yourself, and then you would go out and you would execute the mission. So for about an hour or two, you're tied up in doing some of your pre-mission planning and your safety assessments, and then after that, you'd go out and fly your patrol. And a patrol is really it can be very exciting days where you may be getting into one thing in the morning, doing a routine patrol on the Rio Grande River, and then after that, you could get a pop-up request from a sheriff's department that they maybe have a missing subject and they need some assistance. So that's kind of our tie-in with some of our state and local partners that we do as well. You could be finding yourself doing a lot of really good work with Border Patrol to assist them. And then you may be called to do a 911. I do recall my very first flight after training, I responded to 3 911 calls in one day, which is not really what you expect the first day, but they kind of train you in Air and Marine to be very, very flexible and be ready to accomplish the missions as they see fit.
What about some special events that AMO supports sometimes? I've heard about AMO being out there for the Super Bowl.
Absolutely. Yes, Tammy. So we support a lot of different high-level events that you'll see. We'll be providing security for things like the Super Bowl. We do a lot of sporting events and national events we'll be providing security to. One of the other things that we do is that we do support security for a lot of the disaster relief that occurs throughout the country. Sometimes it would be requested to potentially support with bringing supplies in or to do just recovery and relief efforts, such as we just recently participated in the events in Texas and Kerrville. So that's just a recent example of what we do. But throughout the hurricane season, we do quite a bit of support to that as well.
Okay. We received another question. Someone would like to know if they have to have flight hours under their belt before applying. Russ, would you like to answer that question?
Yeah, there's very specific requirements. So you have to be a pilot first, whether how long ago that you gained that experience, whether it's through school, through a college, or the military. You do have to be a pilot first to pursue. We have our recruiters that are waiting, and they'll provide you some care. So pilots that are out there, this is a great career. If you're coming, whether you're coming from the civilian side or on the military side, pursue a career as a air interdiction agent.
And I can speak to some of those hours. We do require 1,500 hours is our base requirement. We require 250 hours of pilot and command, 75 hours of instrument time, 75 hours of night time, and then we require that you have a Class 2 medical at the point of taking your three-part flight assessment in Oklahoma. What will also be required of that is that you have to make sure that you've got an ATP or a commercial with instrument rating. We allow for fixed wing, rotary wing, or dual rated, and your hours can be split between multiple different fixed wings. So maybe if you have a fixed wing rating and you've got 1,000 hours and you've got 500 hours of helicopter, that fits the requirement. We also do allow for waivers. CBP will waive up to 500 hours of that requirement to bring that down to 1,000 hours. That will be based upon your individual skills. So there's certain things like night vision goggle hours, overwater hours. For some of our military folks that have hazardous duty hours where they've flown overseas, those will reduce that and potentially get you down to that 1,000 hours. So when a pilot or a potential applicant comes to apply, they're required to have at least 750 hours to begin that application process. Now, if they've got through all the pre-employment and they've been selected to attend a flight assessment, they will have to get to whatever hours were waived by the time they take that assessment and go through the final check prior to coming on board.
Okay, thank you for that. Cedro, you're a Marine interdiction agent, correct? Any special requirements for your position upon entry?
Yes, absolutely. So thank you for the question. So if you go to usajobs.gov or careers.cbp.gov, there are requirements for the Marine interdiction agent. Some of the basic requirements are you must possess a merchant mariner credential. It states it on the USA Jobs announcement. You also must possess 1 year of specialized law enforcement experience. The experience can be substituted with education. You have to have a PhD in a certain fields. It's all listed on usajobs.gov. And you can combine that, but you must always possess a merchant mariner credential. You cannot waive the merchant mariner credential. That is just the beginning stage of it. Once you actually make it through the process, you will also have to go through an assessment for the Marine interdiction agent position. That assessment is a 3-piece assessment, normally held in either Florida, California, San Diego, or Texas. That assessment is composed of a written exam, a oral board where you'll have a structured interview that is going to test your critical decision making process, and then also your law enforcement experience, how you respond to certain situations and scenarios. And the third piece will be a practical where you're going to have to drive a vessel and you're going to have to know it's called a static portion. You have to know safety equipment. You have to be able to identify the safety equipment. It's very important because what we're looking for, so there's only 400 of us across the board nationwide. So we're a very unique group. So you have to possess a certain skill set. You have to be turnkey when you come in through the gate. This is not a beginner job. This is something for someone that has advanced skills, that has experience dealing with maritime law enforcement, that has the comfort to be able to do what we do. And then once they come in through the pipeline, They'll go through the assessment. Once they pass then they will go through the academies that I mentioned before, the 14.5 weeks, followed by METP, the Maritime Law Enforcement Training Program, which is 4 weeks long, and then they go to their field sites, and then they receive advanced training. They'll learn how to be a tactical boarding officer, a crew member, and a vessel commander, which is a boat captain.
Okay, thank you. So what types of missions could one expect?
So it varies. It varies on the location. So I started my career in Puerto Rico, so I did Caribbean, and the Caribbean is very unique. My first 6 months in the Caribbean, I had a $1.7 million seizure. It's very fast-paced, adrenaline-laced. It's like being on a roller coaster all the time. What you feel, the emotions. Imagine looking out and your office is a desktop picture. That's what I got to see every day. I got to feel the ocean. I got to feel the waves, the wind, the adrenaline rush, the excitement of my first arrest, my seizures. It's all unique to location. I then served in Jacksonville, Florida, where it's more of a land-based. I was supporting a lot of our partners on the ground, doing more of land-based execution of like warrants, and I had a good time. And then I went to Yuma, Arizona, where I served on the aviation side as a crew member, doing helicopter support, assisting our partners while they did land-based missions as well. So I got to see both sides of the house, the maritime and aviation side, and I can tell you it's a truly unique experience, and it all depends on where you are and what you want to make out of it.
Okay. Russ, is there an age requirement for these two positions?
Yes, there is an age requirement, which is 40 is the cutoff, so you have to be 39 when you apply, and then what we call get put on, referred, and get put on a certificate. There are some exceptions. Veterans preference is one of those exceptions. You can go to feds hire vets. You can see if you do have veteran preference eligibility. And then also folks that do have previous federal law enforcement experience, and they'll be calculated how much experience with your current age at the time of the certificate or the referral.
So there's a little flexibility depending on your
There are two
experience.
exceptions.
Okay. Is that is a waiver required for those types of things, or?
No, it's an exception. It's not a waiver. It's an exception. If you do have, like for example, if you do have federal law enforcement experience, the time that you served in a different capacity as a federal law enforcement officer, that can be subtracted from your current age at the time of the certificate or the time that you apply and get referred. Veterans preference will follow you throughout your federal career, and that becomes a part of who you are with the federal government.
Okay. It looks like I have another question. If I work in corrections, is there a lateral, or do I have to go through the academy?
Yeah, there's no exceptions. So if you're going to go, whether it be on the air interdiction side or the marine interdiction side, or organization as a whole, if there's an academy requirement, there is no transition course. Those military veterans out there may understand that they do change MOSs, that there's a shortened transition course. There is no shortcut to become a specific component law enforcement officer or agent.
Okay. Cedro, Pat, either one of you can speak on this. How much do you work in coordination with each other, the air interdiction agents and the marine interdiction agents?
Well, I think that really depends on the location.
Okay.
So some of the offices that we have are air and marine branches, which means that they have the air component and the marine component physically in the same office or in the same area with the same chain of command. Those offices will potentially be working together a little bit more often, but in a lot of ways there's going to be, due to the nature of being a small agency, we're kind of spread out throughout the country. So the air side may not work with the marine side at specific locations based upon the distance of travel to where the marine interdiction agents are working, if you're on the air side as well too.
Okay. Are there many women that work in these career fields with AMO?
Yes, there is. We for instance, in where I just came from, McAllen, Texas, we had many women that were working in in that branch. They were pilots and the air interdiction agents, and we had some aviation enforcement agents that were women as well too.
Okay, that's wonderful. But we're looking to recruit more candidates, more women as well as men in this career field. So I assume it's a male-dominated career field, correct?
Well, I would say not necessarily male-dominated, but it's definitely, there is a large applicant pool that are men in this field. Law enforcement typically has more men in the field, but it's an ever-growing population. We are seeing more and more women come on board, and we welcome it. Everybody has a unique skill set that they brought. I think that was one of the things I enjoyed the most was the people. Getting a chance to meet all of these different agents that had such varieties of background, whether they came from the military, the civilian side of the house. Everybody has a unique experience that they bring to the table, and great opportunities to learn from everyone.
Nice. Another question in, what is the retirement package look like? Someone would like to know what type of benefits they get with with the retirement packages for.
Yeah, that's a great question. So the retirement packages for law enforcement positions, 20 years, you'll be fully invested for and once you reach 50 years old, if you have 20 years and 50, you're going to retire. 25 at any age, and you can retire and collect a pension. Not only do you have the pension factors, which is 1.7% times the number of years, and then also you can contribute to TSP as well if they're a savings plan or a Roth savings plan. So those opportunities are there and available for you as you get closer to retirement. I'll say one more thing, which is CBP. We always like to take care of our family, and it's absolutely a team. When you get close to retirement, our RABIS team, our retirement benefits team, they really encourage you once you hit that 5-year mark to attend our live webinars to put you right in that right position. And also our RABIS team will also send you what your retirement would look like, and when you're eligible for retirement, you'll get an annual statement.
Okay.
So we're here.
For our military members as well too, or people that have buyback time, that's also very helpful as well too. So for individuals that may be separating from military service and they have, let's say they have 10 years on board active duty time and they want to come on board, they can buy back that military time and add that to the retirement too. So that's definitely a nice part of your retirement benefits, to be able to not lose out on some of that military service that you already had if you did not retire from the component that you left.
Okay, so just to be clear, you don't have to be a military retiree. If you had some time in the military, you can put that towards your time with CBP as an agent here.
Yes,
right?
And for the reserve component individuals, there is calculations based upon how much active duty time that they can attribute back towards that military buyback period. But yes, if you did a short stint, maybe a 4-year enlistment, or maybe you did 10 plus years, when you come on board and you speak with your mission support specialist, they can help you walk you through your what the benefit would be, what the cost would be to buy back that military time. But it's definitely very valuable and a nice thing that is available through the federal government as well.
Yeah, sounds nice. How long is the waiting period after the interview to hear back for the polygraph appointment?
So after the polygraph appointment?
Mm-hmm. After the appointment, the polygraph test.
Okay. Yeah, one thing that really has improved quite a bit over the last several years is our applicant portal. And so there might be an opportunity where you should be able to see that, and it will be a suitability section in there, and that's what you'll be watching. How long does it take to come back? It all depends, because there's 3 parts to the background investigation to make it fully cleared. One will be the what we call the E-app, which is electronic background investigation application form that you'll submit. You'll be assigned to a suitability case manager that'll help you through that process. Plan that you're probably going to get a phone call back to make some adjustments. Usually information may be missing out of that to make that that electronic background investigation form complete. Once that's submitted, and then the polygraph examiner, there'll be some preliminary checks for your background investigation. The polygraph examiner will call you directly and send you an email to schedule that time. Polygraph examiners, they're very busy. So when you do make that polygraph exam, it's really important that you keep that appointment to get your polygraph done. The time from the polygraph exam, and you're probably going to have a pretty good idea. The polygraph examiner is going to tell you, if you passed or failed at that point. It'll give you an indication how you did on the polygraph exam at the end of it. But remember, it's all those pieces together. So it's the electronic background investigation form, the polygraph examination, and then once that's complete, then it's going to go to internal affairs to get the final suitability determination. So that may take time. That may take time for that to occur. So all those 3 pieces of information for the background investigation must be cleared before you get the thumbs up. But I know it's a long-winded explanation.
Great information, Russ. We got in another question, and I am a law enforcement. I'm currently a law enforcement officer, want to become a marine interdiction agent, but have no boating experience. What is the best way to obtain the hours and certification to be qualified for an MIA?
Yeah, that's an amazing question. I actually used to do applicant care, so I dealt with a lot of these type of situations. I always encourage everyone that doesn't have the experience, that isn't currently in law enforcement, to look at like Coast Guard. Coast Guard has programs. They also have a lot of times, a lot of these state and local entities like Federal Fish and Wildlife, Florida Fish and Wildlife, DNR, Department of Natural Resources. They will have maritime units out there. So I always encourage them, hey, walk up to them and ask them like, hey, can I ride along with you? Develop that networking, that friendship, and that way you can gain that experience by serving as a crew member, and then potentially, once you serve as a crew member, that they themselves will help you out. They'll give you the boat time. They'll help you out in that way. There's other avenues as well, as if you're not within CBP and you're a state and local officer. I always encourage, because, and I'm going to say this wholeheartedly, if you don't have our criteria, we still want you in the CBP family. We still want you in CBP, whether it's Border Patrol or Office of Field Operations. We want you in the family. Once you're in the family, we can bring you over to be an MIA in time. Border Patrol actually has a riverine program, and they have vessel commanders and they have tactical boarding officers. That is a unique avenue to be able to transition from U.S. Border Patrol to air and marine operations. I've worked with several of that are now my buddies, that we brought them over from U.S. Border Patrol. So just because you don't have the requirements now does not stop you from joining the CBP family.
So I understand there's a mass recruitment. How many people do you anticipate recruiting or hope to recruit?
That's a great question. We're always looking for great candidates. You don't have to be perfect. We're not looking for the perfect candidate, but we're looking for folks that have integrity. We're looking for good people that have a good background. Those are the folks that we want on board, and understand what our values are: integrity, service to country, and vigilance. Those are the values and our pillars of everything that we do. So if you have that, if you want to protect the nation, whether you do it on the AMO side or one of our other CBP law enforcement positions, there's opportunities for you.
Okay. Another question: how many spots for the manned operations and how many spots for the unmanned operations are available?
That sounds like it's a question about the air side. So The biggest thing is I always tell people, don't worry about how many are available, just apply. So we are going to be hiring air interdiction agents, especially for unmanned as well as manned. Definitely apply, and that part kind of takes care of itself. So there are opportunities. Just go through the process. So.
Well, it looks like another question for you, Pat. How many flight hours are your fixed wing agents logging every month?
Okay, so for fixed wing agents, now I come from a rotary wing background, so some of this is going to be mainly based upon what people are flying on an annual basis. It really does depend a lot on the individual pilot and the individual office. So some of our offices will go do more what we call detachments, where they'll fly and they'll be in support of Caribbean operations, and that may be a surge operation for them where they may fly 30 hours in a month, or they may fly more. But on average, we're seeing most pilots are flying about 300 hours a year throughout the agency. Some fly a lot more and some fly a little bit less. Again, a lot of that is based upon what the individual pilot does. Sometimes somebody may just want to keep on flying, and they'll constantly be volunteering to go out and fly more, so those hours can definitely vary. Other pilots do have additional collateral duties within the agency as well too, so that may vary some of their other opportunities that they're pursuing. But all in all, pilots are generally flying around 300 hours a year.
Okay. Cedro, you mentioned a few minutes ago about Border Patrol, someone from Border Patrol switching over to AMO. Is that something that you've seen before, or is that typical that you can switch from one law enforcement component to the other?
Yes, absolutely. So you can switch over if you have our requirements. You still have to go through our qualifications. You still have to have your resume, still has to pinpoint all those qualifications needed on the USA Jobs announcement. You still have to pass our assessment. That is the criteria. There is no waiver to the assessment. The assessment is there in place for a reason. Once you pass the assessment, you have to go through the academy. That will not be waived, no matter if you're within CBP or not. It will not be waived. You have to go through that academy. And then you have to go through all of our training, our crew member training, our tactical boarding officer training, and our vessel commander training. That is very specific to us, to Air and Marine, and what we do, our mission, our core missions. Our daily mission itself, being on the vessels, being in a maritime law enforcement capacity, is a very unique skill set. It's a very unique experience. You have to possess that comfort level and that skill set to be able to go out there and get the job done.
Okay, thank you. Another question came in. Do pilots get to progress to leadership roles after some time, and what types of leadership positions can they move into?
Okay, awesome. That's a great question, and I'm an example of that. So leadership roles are available throughout the agency, and you can start to progress through them. And we could talk really quick about when you start out. If you're starting out as an air interdiction agent, you're going to start as a GS-11. 52 weeks later, you promote to GS-12. And then 52 weeks later, you'll be a GS-13. So the very beginning of your third year, you're a GS-13, and that's our journeyman level for the air interdiction agents. So after that, well, if you've served 52 months as that GS-13, and you've gone through our promotion assessment program and everything, you're eligible to apply for a supervisory air interdiction agent position. And then we do have promotion potential for GS-14 and GS-15. And then obviously it's going to be very competitive if you decide to try to move up beyond that position. But all of these positions are afforded to that. And it's not going to just be the air interdiction agent. The marine interdiction agents are also journeyman GS-13s, and they follow along the same promotion timeline. And our aviation enforcement agents, they are currently GS-12s, and they have to follow along on the same timeline as well too. So theirs is slightly different because they have a competitive GS-13. But when you see that there's a lot of promotion potential, you could be become a supervisor in the field, or you could maybe do the route that I went, and I came over here to Air Marine Operations Headquarters in Washington D.C. But there are a lot of opportunities if you're interested in and potentially going into a career management role as well too.
Okay, so how much say do you have or control would one have in their duty stations or where they're located at?
So that's a great question, Tammy. So that is going to be based upon the needs of the Air and Marine. So Air and Marine operations, like a lot of federal workforces, will publish an announcement internally where we have vacancies at certain locations. So we always talk about, and this is for the initial hiring process too, a lot of it has to do with what are your capabilities and your credentialing that the individual agent has. So if you have a specific sort of credentialing, like maybe you're a fixed wing pilot, speaking from the air side, with maybe some multi-engine experience, then you will be able to probably put into either lateral or promote and move into a location that may be heavily fixed wing dominated. That's going to probably be more difficult for somebody that does not have that qualification. So a lot of it is resume based, and then a lot of it's also based upon what does the agency need. If everyone's trying to go hypothetically to the northern border and we don't have the need for that, well, then it's going to be limited options for transferring until there is availability at those locations to go. So, but all in all, CBP Air and Marine Operations has been pretty awesome as far as the ability for folks to move around the country and to find a good home that fits them.
We have it. We got another question. I'm a citizen. My English level is not very fluent. Can I apply? This is for you, Russ.
Yep, and you certainly apply. If you're a U.S. citizen, but your English is limited, know that the academy and the application process is going to be completely in English. So you want to be prepared for that, but that should not prevent you from pursuing if you don't meet all the other requirements. But just kind of repeat that you do have to be a U.S. citizen. That's one of the very first requirements.
Okay, thank you. So, being a U.S. citizen, that would mean residency in the U.S. What about with are there other requirements with someone who wasn't originally born?
Right, so U.S. naturalized citizens, sure. So some of the requirements when it wants to surround these, I'll just kind of go through them all, what the requirements are. You have to be a U.S. citizen, you have to have resided in the U.S. the last 5 years. There's some exceptions, military, or if you're working for the U.S. government overseas, there are some exceptions to that. But you do have to have resided, for the general public, you do have to have resided in the U.S. 3 of the last 5 years at the time that you apply. You have to have a driver's license. You can't have any domestic violence convictions. And the reason why that is because you'll be carrying a firearm. And federal law prevents that if you do have domestic violence conviction from carrying a weapon. Those are some of the basic requirements. But I think we kind of touched about the U.S. citizenship. I've talked to thousands of applicants over the last 10 years since I've been with the CBP team, and nothing's more joyous, I think, when somebody gets naturalized who's resided in the U.S. for many years, to get their U.S. citizenship and become part of our CBP team.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Someone would like to know if they can have tattoos when joining AMO, and is it required that they're hidden, or can they be shown?
Yep. So nothing. Well, I could probably go through this a little bit, and then and each component is a little bit different. They all have their own grooming standards depending on the law enforcement position, but basically what the tattoo policy, and it has changed quite a bit over the last several years. No tattoos on the face. And then anything that is exposed, no gang-related, obscene type of tattooing is allowed.
Okay, so what if that's hidden, or they're just those types of tattoos have to be completely just not exist, or they can't have them at all, or they have.
And
to
you
be
probably want to really take a look at the grooming standards. It says no obscene or gang related that's going to be exposed.
Okay.
And please, check the grooming standards for each of the components as they update. And that'll be also in the USA Jobs announcement. There should be a link take you to what the current standards are.
The grooming standards.
As part of the tattoo policy, as a part of the grooming standard.
Okay. Well, can you elaborate on the grooming standards outside of the tattoos? The haircuts. What about the weight standards? Anything that you either any of you would like to elaborate on as far as those standards?
Generally speaking, with the grooming standards, it's maintain a professional appearance. So for men, it's going to be generally speaking. Again, I'm going to be kind of paraphrasing from the grooming standards. So, but to make sure that you have just a clean professional haircut. There are specific grooming standards for female agents as far as like hair color and jewelry and makeup and things like that for specific requirements. So generally we do, like Isidro was talking about earlier, do authorized beards for the journeyman agents as well. Again, those do fall within grooming standards as well too, where there's a certain length and a neatness of appearance. But other than that, really it's best, like Russ said, for specific grooming standards to look into the to that guide that's attached to the USA Jobs post.
Okay. Well, we have a few minutes left. I'd like to give you both opportunities to kind of elaborate on your experience or anything that you'd like to share that that an applicant could expect coming with being a marine interdiction agent and air interdiction agent. Cedro, you first.
Yeah, thank you. So it depends on what you want. I tell every applicant that I deal with, what is it that you want? What is your why? What motivates you? And we have a conversation. I always have this long dialogue with them, and I tell them, like, tell me exactly what you're looking for, where you want to be, what your plans and ambitions are. Do you want to be on the boat? Do you want to, do you want to be a line agent? Do you want to be on the back of a helicopter? Do you want to fly something? Like, what is it that you're looking for? Because that's going to help kind of guide them towards their end goal, their end state. For me, my motivator was always, like I mentioned before, 9/11. My interview was set for 9/11, and I never made it because, the Pentagon was hit. And so knowing that and just being around a lot of law enforcement, I always wanted to excel. I always wanted to emulate them. And being on the maritime side of the house has opened so many doors for me. I was able to go to, and that's another thing too, is I will say that just because you see cbp.gov or cbp.gov careers or USA Jobs, just because you see Office of Field Operations or Border Patrol or Air and Marine, that doesn't mean that we are constrained within a box. We are so wide. There's so many pieces to us, so many adventures. You could go international with Office of Field Operations. You can end up in Europe. You could go be a Border Patrol agent and go horseback riding, ATV riding. You could do so many things. Just like with us, I've got an opportunity to wake up in Barbados, to go to Dominican Republic, to go to Mexico. I've gotten to go to so many different places, and it was because of CBP, because of my family. And this is my family. I was raised here since I was 16 years old. This is my family. Patrick's my family. He's my brother. That's how we are. Russ is my brother. So that's what I would say to every applicant that applies. Once they make it through the process, they always get a phone call from me if I'm working with them. And I always tell them one thing, and this is how I end it. I say, welcome to the family, because that's what it is. And to me, it's once you cross that line and you go to the academy and you graduate, you're a piece of my family. You and I will be bonded forever. And that's how it is. That's what CBP is about.
Yeah, and very well said. And I think that just to kind of piggyback on what you said about what's your why, my experience was I was in the Army active duty for 10 years, and I spent many years of that overseas. And when I was kind of making a decision point in my life was I going to stay in the military or was I going to get out of the military and pursue other options? Well, I wanted to try to find an opportunity where I could continue my service to the country, as well as have a mission-focused job. But I also wanted to have something a little bit more geographic stability for my family. My wife and I wanted to grow our family, so I found out about this opportunity and I started doing some research. And Air and Marine has fulfilled all of those things. For me, obviously, no job is perfect, but this is as close to perfect as I can imagine for myself, for my situation. You get the autonomy as an agent to go out and make tough decisions on a daily basis. You get the trust of your leadership to back you. And the greatest part of it is the partners that you have, like CJ was talking about, the family. This has been such a wonderful experience as far as getting to meet people from all walks of life, different experiences. And that really does make the difference because, many people will always say, especially people separating from the military, they'll say, well, what do you miss? And a lot of people don't always say that they miss the deployments, the training exercises. They always say they miss the people. Right. So, and the most wonderful part about this career is the people. The CBP family, not just air and marine operations, but our exposure with Border Patrol Office Field Operations, all of our brothers and sisters in uniform. That is what you come into when you come into the Air and Marine family is excellent work. I feel like the work-life balance is pretty great, and you're just part of the family, and that's comes with a lot of positives for your own personal family life as well too.
Well, thank you for that, Pat. Well, thank you very much, gentlemen, for the great information. For more on careers with AMO or Air and Marine Operations, visit the link below. And we'll take a short break before diving in careers with Office of Field Operations.
Working at CBP isn't like any other job. Our hiring process has several steps, but each one is necessary to make sure we're hiring people who are qualified and capable of doing this work. So if you're interested in CBP, here's what you need to know to complete our hiring process successfully for CBP officer positions. Let's go step by step. First, you apply. You can find open positions through our website or usajobs.gov. You'll answer questions regarding your experience and readiness for the position and submit your resume, transcripts, and documents to verify your age and whether you're a veteran. After submitting your application, you'll be asked to complete a self-assessment called the Candidate Experience Record that tells us about your prior work experience and education. Then you'll take an entrance exam that tests your logical reasoning at an in-person facility. Both are important measures of whether you'll perform well at CBP. Then we'll review your exam results, your resume, and the other documents you submitted. Your resume is important, so be sure it's well written. It should help us understand your prior experience in education and why you're qualified and motivated to join CBP. If everything looks good, congratulations, you'll have a conditional offer. The next steps are important, and you can help your application move quickly by preparing for them and completing them on time. After you receive your conditional offer, we'll send you an email with instructions for your national background investigation and your interviews. The MBI questionnaire asks for a lot of information, and it's essential that you fill it out completely and truthfully. Failing to provide all required information the first time can significantly lengthen your hiring process. Next come your interviews. The structured interview consists of a two-person panel. They'll ask questions designed to measure your decision-making, emotional maturity, interpersonal skills, and more, seeking to understand if you have the competencies to be a successful member of our team. The pre-screening interview is designed to measure your likelihood of passing the background investigation. After you complete your MBI questionnaire, you'll receive an email to initiate your medical exam. The medical exam includes a medical history review, physician exam, and a vision and hearing test. Jobs at CBP are demanding, and we need to make sure you're medically and physically capable of performing the job safely. You will be responsible for scheduling your tests and submitting your medical documentation, so make sure you submit all the documentation requested. And be aware that CBP medical staff may call or email to request follow-up information. You'll also receive an email with instructions for your physical fitness test. If you're concerned about passing, the physical fitness test is something you can train for before you even apply. The earlier you get started, the better. See our website for more information and a suggested training plan. CBP requires every employee to be of good conduct and good character. That means all selected applicants need to go through the next 3 steps. The Polygraph helps us verify applicants have no compromising personal issues or past behavior that would reflect poorly on their ability to be a responsible, reliable member of our team. For the background investigation, an investigator will verify the information you provided on your MBI questionnaire, including interviewing you, the personal and professional references you provide, and others. The drug test will verify that there are no concerns about your use of controlled substances. See our website for more information about the polygraph, the background investigation, and the drug test. If everything looks good, then you're in. You'll receive your offer to join our community and be a part of our mission. Be prepared. Our hiring process can be lengthy, and there are some things that'll be out of your control, like the time it takes to schedule your polygraph, or to review and process your exam results. But there are many things that are in your control and that you can do to help your application go through faster. Read all instructions thoroughly, provide all information requested, and complete and submit all forms and documentation as soon as possible. And we may ask you to do multiple steps at once to help speed the process along. And remember, CBP is here to help you along the way. You'll be notified of each action or step you need to complete via email, and you can contact the Hiring Center at any point if you need help or have questions. It's a rigorous process because it's a rigorous job. We're here to help and to make sure that once you're hired, you're ready to go beyond. If you're interested in applying, join our talent network to learn more, or head to careers.cbp.gov/s/search-careers to start your application.
Go ahead, honey.
Welcome, willkommen, bienvenue, bienvenido, karibu, huanyeng, yokoso. Thank you for joining us here today. I am Oheni Japong. I'm the Media Relations Director for CBP's Office of Public Affairs. And joining me to my right are Mr. Michael Russell, goes by Russ, from the Boogie Down, Bronx. We've got Chief Kerry Gorman, and my man 50 Grand. We've got Andrew Wellington. Call him Beef. Today we're going to explore the exciting careers of CBP's Office of Field Operations, OFO for short. And to start, Chief, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. How are you today?
Outstanding.
Great.
Hey, can you tell me what exactly is the Office of Field Operations?
So the Office of Field Operations, we patrol the airports, land borders, and seaports. So any people or goods that want to enter the United States and even leave the United States are going to come through us. So we're going to work on passenger processing, trade-related items. Our job has changed so much over the years that we just kind of are out there doing a lot of different things in 3 different components or 3 different areas of operations. And the best thing about OFO, you never have the same day twice. So when you like change in your career, OFO is the place to be because you're seeing something different every day.
Outstanding. So we've got some questions coming in. And the first one is, what's the hiring process like for someone straight out of the military or a college background? And I'll pass that question over to you, Russ.
Yep, that's a great question. I'll kind of break that up into 2 candidates. So a military candidate coming off of active duty, when you get about a year out, typically that's probably a good time frame to start looking and start doing your formal exiting interviews out of the military, to contact a recruiter. That's probably the best time to start applying. It depends on the position that you held, the experience that you gain in the military may be able to start at a higher pay grade. The lowest pay grade that we offer is the GS5 for OFO. And then potentially, if you do have supervisory experience, often we see that with many of our veterans, be qualified at the GS7. Your resume has to support what those qualification standards are. And then if you do have law enforcement experience coming from the military, then a GS9, so military police, security forces, master at arms for the Navy, might have a potential to start off at a higher pay grade. So somebody coming out of college, so veterans, I'm a retired Army veteran, love my veterans. Good opportunity, and CBP was a certainly good fit for me 10 years ago when I retired, and haven't looked back, and this is my new family. Army was my family, now CBP is my family. So, recent college graduate. So if you do have a bachelor's degree, let's say if you have a bachelor's degree, you didn't get quite that 3.0 GPA, a GS5, you can use that education substitution. You can use that GS5 pay grade. If you have superior academic achievement, which is going to be a 3.0 or higher, this is based on a bachelor's degree. And potentially, we will evaluate your transcripts. We will evaluate transcripts, and you potentially could be found qualified at the GS7. If you do have your master's degree, and you complete your graduate education, and you can start at the very highest pay grade for the CBP officer, which is going to be at the GS9 pay grade. And there are so many other opportunities, but the CBP officer, much like these folks right next to me, my teammates, the CBP officers, those are the folks we're always looking to hire.
Outstanding. Hey, so I'm seeing the uniforms, and I'm going to the airport, and I'm seeing TSA. Is that you guys, or like what's the difference between you guys and TSA?
That's a great question, Lenny. So obviously TSA secures the air environment, right? So we've got Folks who work for the TSA to make sure that they're detecting and deterring terrorism and instruments of terror on airplanes. Office of Field Operations CBP officers also work in the air environment. We clear all people and goods that enter from international. In some cases, we do it at pre-clearance locations, which is one of the benefits of working for CBP is that you can work abroad. Or we clear planes when they land domestically. So TSA works in conjunction with CBP, right? We're both under the umbrella of the Department of Homeland Security. Definitely overlapping missions, but CBP enforces a wide variety of laws in the three different environments that Carrie mentioned, air, land, and sea. And just going back to one of the previous points that Russ mentioned for my military veterans out there, one of the things that we like to highlight for you guys that are looking to join from active duty is CBP, for us, Office of Field Operations, there's no mandatory PCSs. You never have to relocate. The government will never tell you you must move here after X number of years. And we also have paid overtime, which is something that a lot of our friends in the military didn't get or didn't receive. So all of our overtime is double time. We have 15 and 20% shift differential, and we have time and a half Sunday pay. So we've talked a lot of shop with a lot of different agencies over the years. I know Carrie and I have had tons of experience talking to other police departments, other federal and state, local. Not a lot of people get compensated as well as we do. This is pretty exciting.
Outstanding. So, Carrie, coming in from the military, coming from all over the country, one question we're getting online is it necessary for people to relocate when they join OFO?
It's not always necessary to relocate. However, some of the locations that we are hiring for will cause people to relocate. So when you get through the entire hiring process, you'll get that email that everybody waits for from their applicant portal saying, we're ready to set you up with an entrance on duty and EOD. Please select from this list as to where you want to work. You might see, in my case, coming out of the Bronx, I might see JFK there and I may not have to move. But if JFK is not there and I really want to take the job that day, I might click on another location, which may cause me to move. So when I actually got hired, all those years ago, I took Newark, New Jersey. So here I am, a New Yorker, going across the George Washington Bridge every day to Jersey.
Traitor.
It worked out, though. It worked out really well. It was one of the best career decisions I ever made going out there. So, it's not mandatory. Nobody's forcing you to take the job in another location. But I suggest that if you see a good list of places and a place that you're willing to work and live, take it, because you're not going to be able to get another opportunity like OFO.
I'm sorry to interrupt.
Go ahead, no, please.
We have so many reassignment opportunities in this agency. I loved where I first worked in Richmond, Vermont. The people that I worked with there were top notch. I got great training there, but it wasn't exactly in line with what 23-year-old me wanted to do at that time. I wanted to be a little bit more high speed, so I applied to transfer to a larger land border, and then from there, I started moving into my more technical skills, and I applied to move again to the National Targeting Center in Sterling, Virginia, and that's what ended up bringing me to the DC metro area to hang out with you guys today. So if you want to move, you can move. If you want to stay, some people work their entire career at the same spot, and if that spot works for them, they become specialized in that area, or they become senior, they promote through the ranks, they're getting paid more every year, and they're getting valuable experience doing, protecting national security. I got a lot of respect for people that are subject matter experts in one lane of focus, and we've got a lot of respect for people that have a broad resume.
So I'm glad you mentioned all the different places. One question that we have online is, and I'll shoot this over to you, Carrie. What is the difference between working in a land port, a sea port, an airport? What are the difference in those?
So the overall mission doesn't change. You're still detecting, terrorist weapons. You're still looking for drugs. You're still looking for people who are doing illicit things. However, the conveyances that you're inspecting are going to change. So on the land border, we're dealing with cars and trucks. Where at a seaport, you're boarding large cargo vessels or sometimes private yachts, which is personally my favorite part of the job. I'm a pleasure boater. I don't have what I need to be air and marine, but I'm out there on my boat, with my friends. I enjoy that. So inspecting other ships is something I personally enjoy to do. And then in an airport, obviously, you're dealing with planes everywhere you work, whether it's a land border, seaport, or airport, you're dealing with the traveling public, whether it's cruise ships at a seaport, airline passengers at an airport, or just people coming across the southern or the northern border at the land borders. So the way you see the items or the people coming in is really the only difference at those locations.
Okay.
I've been lucky in my career. I've got to work, like I said, at Newark. So I started in the seaport, got to dabble with the airport, and then 9 years into my career, I decided to go down on a detail, totally volunteer, go down on a detail to Nogales, Arizona, work the southern land border. So now I have all 3 areas of operation under my belt, and I've enjoyed all of them. They all have their own little piece, that goes with the puzzle.
Outstanding. Outstanding. So you're inspecting people, I'm guessing cargo, and that probably would lead to like food and such. So I guess I'm going to throw this question over to you, Russ. What are the qualifications for entering CBP as an agricultural specialist?
Yeah, so there is a minimum education requirement. It's going to be 24 semester hours in a biological or science field related. And it does have to come from a U.S. accredited school. If you did go to a foreign university, it does have to get translated. And you have to have the U.S. equivalency evaluation completed. But 24 semester credit hours in a science-related field, and that would be evaluated by our qualifiers. Most folks that come in, they usually have their bachelor's degree in biology or chemistry, or they have their bachelor's degree in agriculture as well too. And then there's not only the minimum the experience requirements. We don't have your bachelor's degree in one of those disciplines, and then there would also be an experience requirement that is also on top of the 24 semester hours credits.
Cool. Hey, Andrew, one question that we're getting online is, does having a law enforcement background make you a stronger candidate or applicant?
That's a great question, O'Henny. Well, let me speak from personal experience. When I got out of college, I was 21 like most people, and I applied to every law enforcement agency that was hiring at the time. And so even when I got my final offer from CBP, years later I was still receiving requests to come do physical tests, to do doctor's tests, to do drug tests for other agencies. It just so happened that CBP called first. I'm thankful every day for that. So it's not necessarily going to make you a stronger candidate, but it is going to give you a strong conceptualization of what to expect. One of the unique things about this agency that most people don't realize is that specifically Office of Field Operations, we deal primarily with compliant travelers. So unlike traditional law enforcement who either respond to calls for service, 911 calls, or do proactive enforcement like traffic enforcement, where they're dealing with either criminals or potential criminals all day, we deal generally with what we refer to as the happy traveler, right? So people coming back from their cruises, people coming back from their flights to Cancun and Cozumel, people returning from abroad, American citizens returning from abroad, or foreign nationals that are coming to start their studies in the United States or their work in the United States under different visa classifications. So former military, former law enforcement, you guys are going to have a great time at the academy. You're going to have a good time working out with everybody. You're going to be familiar with handcuffing drills, OC spray, taser, firearm, baton, all that fun stuff. But it'll give you a good foundation for the future. It's definitely not necessary, though. We'll take anybody that's willing to work for CBP and make America safer.
Well, I, for one, am very happy that CBP called you first.
They did. They called me first. And they pay a lot better than every other agency that I applied to.
Hey, you heard it here first, America. CBP pays better than every other law enforcement agency. So, Russ, tell me about the different opportunities that are available as an OFO within CBP.
Yeah, so there's many different positions, and certainly the folks right next to me could give you first-hand information about all the positions that we have. A lot of this can be dependent on the duty location. And so we're going to start off the very beginning with the CBP technician. The CBP technician, it does have a particular pay grade. It's not a law enforcement position, but they work alongside the CBP officers.
Doesn't have an age requirement either, right?
And it does not have an age requirement. We'll talk about no age requirement for the CBP technician. Non-law enforcement position does not have an age requirement. And then we talked a little bit about the agricultural specialist. That too is not a law enforcement position and does not have an age requirement. We talked a little bit about the education requirements for the agricultural specialist as well too. We also have CBP entry specialists, and we also have mission support and Office of Field Operation. What's our number up to now? 25,000?
We're just under
About 25,000. Collectively, CBP in large, 65,000 plus folks. And OFO carries a lot of that weight of that facilitating that international trade and travel. So to be able to do that, you need a lot of folks in different positions, different skill set, education levels, from all walks of life.
Wow. Yeah, I think the important thing is, go to our website, which we've mentioned a lot. We keep posting it up on the chat. Go to the website and see the different jobs that are available within, CBP as a whole, the Office of Field Operations, paralegal specialists. You mentioned mission support specialists, anywhere from
Import
facilities to budget to human capital.
Logistics and fleet, yeah.
Import specialist, near and dear to my heart. My father's a retired import specialist. I'm third generation customs. That's how I got recruited into the agency.
Wow.
But my father spent 38 years as an import specialist. Growing up, I always wondered why my dad was looking at handbags in every store that we went into. But then when I found out what he did for a living, and his job was to make sure that the items coming into the United States were safe for our commerce, that they were charging the right tariffs, the right taxes on those items. So there's so many fields out there that you don't even know exist, but the Office of Field Operations probably has something for just about everybody.
I remember, O'Henny, we're one of the 2 fiscally solvent branches of government. So the IRS makes money for the U.S. government. They don't cost the U.S. government more money than they make. Customs, specifically Office of Field Operations, with our duties and the things and the penalties that we assess, make the U.S. government money. We make more money than we spend.
So we're the money makers of CBP. Okay.
If I had muscles right now, I'd flex them. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. So, you talked about a bunch of different careers. What about healthcare? Anybody, a healthcare background, emergency medical service, anything like that?
You can certainly specialize, too, once you become a CBP officer. Depending on, it'd be really surprising, even though you come into if you're a healthcare specialist or if you're a nurse, and you're looking for a different change, a different career change.
Okay.
Import specialist, agricultural specialists, and CBP officers I have sitting to the left of me. There's always opportunities for you to use those skill sets that you have, either through education or through your work experience.
Just a few years ago, the Office of Field Operations started an emergency services program. So we have, if you're an EMT already, you come on board with OFO, get hired, go to the academy, pass the academy, finish your post-academy, get off probation, and then you can get a token or a passcode to take the National Registry of Emergency Medical Technicians. Don't quote me if that's the right title, but you can go in the NREMT test, take it, and then become a nationally registered EMT and have the Office of Field Operations back you. And in my locations, we actually have full-time EMT groups at our
That's
2 ports of
JFK
entry.
thing, right?
JFK and Newark.
Makes
They've
sense.
dedicated. And they not only help with the traveling public coming in that might have medical emergencies, they deploy on operations around the country. And then most importantly, they do all of our first aid, CPR, Narcan training for our staff to keep everybody up and running.
That's cool.
So
That's really cool.
using the skills that you have from your previous CBP life can definitely come into play once you get hired.
That's amazing. That's absolutely amazing. So near and dear to my heart are 4-legged friends. How can I, once I enter and become an OFO officer, how can I get linked up with the K9s? And how long does that take to get there?
So, thank you. We've got a different position called the K9 Enforcement Officer. It's CEO. It's going to be specifically listed on USA Jobs if we're hiring for that specific position, but you can also just start as a regular CBP officer and then enter into the K9 world later. So we have narcotics detection dogs, human detection dogs, currency detection dogs, we have therapy dogs, and we have the most famous, I would say, of those 5 is the Beagle Brigade, right? Agricultural inspection dogs that are sniffing people's luggage to catch illicit agricultural goods that could harm the commerce of the United States with invasive pests or citrus canker or whatever the case may be. So I personally know several people that joined CBP as regular CBP officers and became K9 officers later. They get to bond with their dog all day. They work hard, O'Henny. Folks that work K9 in traditional law enforcement, you might be used to picking your calls, for example, and saying, that might not be a good call for a K9. That might be a good one. I'm going to go to that one. Our K9s work hard. We're putting in a land border environment, we're laying out entire buses full of luggage and running the K9 and narcotics detection dogs along entire rows of luggage. And in the land commerce environment, we're tossing them up into trucks and we're letting them run the whole truck. So they're long days. Sometimes they're long hot days. We were working the southwest border, for example. It gets hot on the northern border too, but it's a great job if you can get it.
And we have the CBP has the largest K9 cadre out of any law enforcement agency. We have more dogs around the nation than anywhere else. And, again, just like I said earlier with the EMTs, do your time, learn the job, and then you'll see either posted on USA Jobs that there's K9 openings in certain locations, or you'll see an internal announcement through your port of entry saying, hey, we have an opening. The therapy dog program that you spoke about, you have to become a peer support member or a chaplain first. Have 3 years under your belt in that kind of collateral duty. And then, you can apply when there's an open dog position. So, we're in New York, we're lucky. We have Monty up in New York and Phineas, our opposite trade dog. So, it makes my job easier because these dogs walk in and they just make you smile right away. So we have great programs out there.
That's awesome. Hey, Russ, so this question's for you. You and I are both retired military. So, of course, I'm from the Navy, so better service.
That's why he's wearing blue. It's got nothing to do with the blue.
That's right, Navy blue. No, so there are things you can do within the Navy, within the military, lateral transfers from one career to another in the military. You can also transfer between services. Navy had a thing, blue to green one time. You could go from Navy to Army. Is there a blue to green equivalent for CBP? Can you be a CBP OFO and then transfer to BP or AMO?
Yeah, you certainly can, and it's really important to take a look at what the requirements are for that. Unlike the military, we have, if you're going to be changing MOSs, you're staying in the same component. For you, if you're a Navy, if you're changing your MOS, you'd go to a transition course, which is typically a shortened course. We see that often in the military. There'd be several jobs. It does require, if you do go from CBPO officer to Border Patrol agent, you do have to apply to the open public announcement. Currently, as it stands, apply to the open public announcement and go through the entire Border Patrol Agent Academy, and vice versa. So, typically you'll see that you could be a pilot student, but you got a job, but you don't have enough hours to be an air interdiction agent, but you're working towards that time, or a Marine interdiction agent, but you don't have the law enforcement time. You get picked up in the CBPO side of the house or the OFO side of the house, and you work your way towards those certifications to change into that different component position. So there's different avenues. Collectively, 65,000 folks in CBP, and the number keeps on rising. The largest law enforcement organization in the country. Whatever your aspirations are, whatever you want to pursue, there's opportunities.
Is there a minimum amount of time that you need to be in OFO before you can make the transfer?
Well, you would like, right? And I'm sure OFO would like at least to get through the probationary period. Unless you're talking about the OFO specialty groups, and that's going to be on case by case depending on the specialty group, whether it be K9 or the SRT team, and that'd be very specific. That'd be
Special response team.
Special response team.
OFO's SWAT team.
Okay. Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. Special weapons and tactics. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So a lot of it's going to depend on that and what those availabilities are. If you stay within the OFO, the CBP officer side of the house. But making that transition from one law enforcement, CBP law enforcement to another one, there are specific requirements that you have to have before you can make that jump. And does require, at this time, the full academy.
And how long is the academy?
Well, a lot depends. So on the OFO side of the house,
It's 101 training days. So we train Monday through Friday, no holidays. So it's 101 actual days of training in academics, tactics, firearms. Well-versed academy down in Glencoe, Georgia. So we'll send you down there. We will house you. We will feed you. For the military folk out there, we will not be waking you up at 4 o'clock in the morning with the drill sergeant screaming at you, kicking you out of bed. Nobody's checking the corners of your bed to make sure you made them appropriately.
We'll also pay you, by the
Yeah.
way.
We will pay your salary from the day you enter on duty through the academy. So 101 beautiful days in Glencoe, Georgia. And, as you were mentioning before, not having a law enforcement background, you're fine because we're going to teach you everything you need to know about being a CBP officer at the academy. And then you're going to come back from the academy and do 8 weeks at your assigned port of entry in post academy.
Okay.
So we get you well trained.
You're assigned port of entry. So
Your assigned port of entry.
and do you have a say in that, Russ? Like where your assigned port of entry is?
yep, you certainly do. And when you first apply, we're going to have our preferred locations, preferred duty locations. And what OFO does well is that they forecast out where those vacancies are going to be at the time that announcement comes out and the time that we expect that you would EOD or entry on duty, that you would be hired and actually work on the job. We call that the final offer. The very final offer, what you're going to get is a list of all the duty locations that are available. And hopefully, your preferred location, your preferred duty location that you did when you first applied is there. If it's not, you can select another duty location. 328 ports of entry. There's got to be someplace nearby, that's desirable for you. And then you also pick out your academy dates as well, too. Typically how it works for the OFO side of the house, for the CBP officer, you're going to go to your duty location first, and you're going to spend some time there. You're going to process in, and then we're going to pay, OFO is going to pay for you to travel to Glencoe, Georgia, where you complete your academy. After you complete your academy, you'll come back to your duty location and start your career.
Outstanding.
And Russ, I can't emphasize this enough because it happened to me, and I want to make this personal for the people out there listening. If you get to that final step and you've passed all those tests and CBP says, we want to hire you, here's the locations, and the one that you were like, man, I really wanted to work there is not there, please select a location and work for us anyway. Because like we mentioned earlier, there's a million different ways that you can get from one spot to another. You could promote, you could take a pre-clearance location and then have your choice when you come back. You could apply to a lateral, you could do a swap with somebody else. You could do what's called NROB and LROB, the National Reassignment Bulletin and the Lateral Reassignment Bulletin. There's so many internal ways to get to where you want after a year, after 2 years, after 3 years, that I find that you would be foolish not to turn that offer down just because it's not where you want to be in the first place. This agency has given me everything, O'Henny. They made me an offer for $35,000 as a GS7 in 2013, and I thought that was the salary I was going to be making. No, I didn't read the fine print. I didn't know it was a 7-9-11 journeyman 12 position. And so I would have taken this job at $35,000, but in 4 years I was making $80,000, and I never would have known that if I said no.
There is tremendous power in yes. I tell everybody who works with me, no is a complete sentence, but there is tremendous power in yes, and a positive and open attitude. That's absolutely great.
Once you start your federal career, you can transition wherever you want.
Outstanding.
World's your oyster.
Hey Russ, Andrew talked about qualifications. How about physical fitness? That's a question that we're getting online. Physical fitness qualifications. I guess to enter and then maybe, I guess, throughout the academy or to graduate, what are the physical fitness qualifications?
Yeah, so the physical fitness qualification, we call it the physical fitness step 1, which is part of the pre-employment process. And wherever that occurs, you do get 2 tries at it, but there's going to be 12 push-ups, 20 sit-ups, and then a 14-inch steps test. So think about a short little steps, right? I think it's 4 steps. You have to average 120 steps per minute for 15 minutes. Is that correct? Is that 15 minutes or the 5 minutes? Pretty sure it's 15 minutes.
So I'm in public affairs because math
Yeah.
is not my. So I'm just gonna put that out there.
But you can find all the information on cbp.gov. There's also, in the announcement itself, you'll find what the physical fitness requirements are. At the academy, it's going to be a little bit different.
So at the academy, in order to graduate the academy, you have to complete your third and final fitness test,
Okay.
which is a 1.5 mile run in 15 minutes or less, a 220-yard dash in 47 seconds or less, and 24 push-ups in less than a minute. That's to graduate. So you don't do that until like your last 3 weeks at the academy. But what we do to check your baseline is in the beginning, you'll do it, see what your baseline is. Halfway through, you'll take the test again, see if you're getting better, and then that way you know where you stand right before graduation. The fitness standards just changed a couple of years ago, so we don't expect them to change, anytime soon. But the reason why the academy is 101 days is we've added a lot of physical conditioning to it to get people ready. What I do strongly suggest for people out there, thinking that this is where they want to go, but they're not sure they can meet those standards, go right to our website, go to cbp.gov careers, and we have on there under the fitness standards videos and sites that are going to help you prepare for the physical testing that we do.
Yep.
So it's all out there.
Yeah,
Make it
same thing with the
accessible.
fitness test one as well too. There is a study guide that's out there, and that's going to help you through the academy as well as the fitness test one. If you do happen to fail the fitness test one during the pre-employment process, we will give you an opportunity to get another crack at it.
Right away, or just
No, it'll be about a 60-day wait, but you'll be looking for that email that will explain what your waiting period is,
Okay.
and then you're probably going to get the information to the study guide to get your fitness, up to snuff.
And FLETC, the Federal Law Enforcement Training Center, also has world-class gyms. So if you're not getting smoked enough during your regular 8 to 4 day, and your PT that you're doing with your friends, then you can go work out. I worked with a lot of guys that really enjoyed having a free gym membership for the 6 months that I was there.
Outstanding. So you talked about the physical fitness exam. Some, or maybe all law enforcement agencies have a written exam, or is there something that we have, Carrie? Is that?
So after you apply, you'll start getting emails. I call it the fast and furious process. You're going to get a ton of emails from our human resources management and from our hiring center with things you have to do. One of those would be scheduling your entrance exam, which is all done online now. You just sign onto the computer and you're going to be taking it right online. It's a multiple choice test. Very basic, and even better, the study guide for it is right on our website. So we get you what you need to prepare for that test. You take it right online.
Yep, and I'll kind of add to that too.
Absolutely.
If you're inspired by today's talk and you come to OFO and you apply to become a CBP officer, once you submit that application, much like Chief Gorman talked about, the entrance exam is 3-tiered, and the very first thing you're going to receive is called a Candidate Experience Record Assessment. Now that's due within 72 hours. Basically, you can't study for it. It's going to be personal questions about your work behavior and you as a student and how you work. So you cannot study for it. It's going to be all personal questions about you and your work behavior and academic behavior. Once you submit that, now that's due, right? That clock starts ticking. That's due within 72 hours. Once you submit that, then you'll get an invitation to complete the written skills assessment. The written skills assessment has to be completed. You can study for it, but it has to be completed and submitted in 5 days. There's a study guide for the written skills assessment. Once you pass the written skills assessment at 70% or higher, and then you will get the last invitation to complete the series for the CBP officer, and that's the logical reasoning exam. Logical reasoning exam, you do have 14 days to be able to take it, to schedule it like Chief Gorman talked about. You can do it all from the comfort of your home. It's all online. Or for the logical reasoning exam, you can schedule at a local testing center. So knowing your environment and how you take tests would be better. To take it at a local testing center would be better for you to take it at home. So you want to be away from the distraction. Once that time starts on the written skills assessment, once you start and enter it, it does not stop. and it's all time sensitive. Same thing with the logical reasoning exam as well too. Once you start, you cannot stop it. And we have great study guides out there that's been recently updated.
Okay. So you mentioned when there's an entrance exam, etc. In the military, or for the military, there are recruiting offices all around the country and cities, etc. Where does somebody, is there a CBP or OFO recruiting office in major cities? Where are those?
Yeah, so the best place to start is go to CBP Talent Network, and then we'll reach out to you. So it's going to be dependent on your zip code, where you live, and a recruiter near in that area. And our National Recruitment Division, as well as our full-time uniform recruiters, are throughout the nation. But if you go through the CBP Talent Network, you're going to select that you're interested in becoming a CBP officer, Office of Field Operations. You can punch in your zip code, and somebody will be in contact with you.
Outstanding. And then joining CBP as OFO, is there a sign-in bonus?
Well, we don't have necessarily a sign-on bonus, or we like to call them incentives, but we do have incentive locations that are duty specific. So I'll just name one of those. It would be in the San Francisco area, and San Francisco has its own special salary table on top of the 25% incentive that they offer for 3 years. I think for San Francisco, maybe 4 years, and then a salary table. So it's going to be duty location specific. It'll be specific at that time that when you apply, and then when you get that final offer. So we do have OFO, CBPO, do have an incentive. It's not a cash incentive. It's a duty, it's a duty location incentive, which will be increased in your overall salary.
Yeah, you're going to need that for California gas prices. Hey, so let's circle back to SRT, Special Response Team.
Yes, sir.
Hey, Andrew, so is the physical fitness test for that, I would imagine that's different,
Much stricter, yeah.
Then can you tell me about what SRT does?
Sure. So SRT is the most elite unit in the Office of Field Operations, right? There's very few of them compared to the large number of CBP officers that we have. The Special Response Team does what your typical police SWAT team might do. So that's special weapons and tactics, as you mentioned earlier. So they're going to be professionals at handling their firearms. They're going to be professionals at handling dispersing crowds, professionals at handling like high-risk environments and things like that. SRT also does a great job being leveraged for national security events. All around the country, whenever there's some sort of terrorist attack or mass casualty incident or natural disaster, SRT, VORTAC, which is the Border Patrol's version of SRT, and all our other special response teams are usually the ones with the logistics and the resources and the deployability to get there the fastest and render aid or provide logistical support the quickest. And so there's SRT folks that work regular jobs within CBP. Their full-time job is being a CBP officer, and then their collateral duty is SRT. And then there's dedicated SRT operators whose full-time job is doing the types of work that require that specialized skill. So you can't be an SRT officer without first being a CBP officer. It's an additional academy, additional basic requirements, additional physical fitness requirements, additional firearms requirements, and additional age requirements. And so I encourage everybody to apply to do something like that in their life. If you've ever been on any kind of team, whether it's debate team, the marching band, football team, basketball team, soccer team, whatever, and you succeeded in something in that team, let's say you won state, or you won nationals, or you placed, or you ranked, or you went, that feeling that you get when you win something, or when you conquer something, or when, in our case, sometimes you save a life, or prevent something terrible from happening, or help people who just had the worst day of their life, is something SRT deals with every day. And so I guarantee you, without knowing Carrie that well, that she's helped save somebody's life at the Port of Entry before.
Oh, absolutely.
I've done the same, not by myself, with a team of people when I worked at Champlain Border Entry. And I'll be honest with you, that feeling was a feeling I hadn't felt since high school, since I was a part of the team. So SRT is obviously a very well skilled, very tight knit family that kicks butt.
Being part of a team, working together, helping others. Very seldom.
That's why they call it OFO proud.
You know it.
It's the humanitarian aspect of our job. You know, a lot of people think law enforcement, you know, is writing tickets, arresting people. What they don't realize is we're doing a lot of humanitarian efforts out there. You know, when I worked in Nogales, a young girl crossing the border, pedestrian crossing the border with an older woman who was claiming to be her grandmother. And just from my experience in life working with kids, you know, through church youth groups and stuff, I'm looking at this girl, I'm like, she doesn't look like how I looked with my grandmother. Right. I mean, my grandmother was a strong Irish woman, so she had some personality, but, you know, there was still that loving aspect of things. And this girl wouldn't hold her hand. She would look at her afraid. So with the little Spanish that I knew, I talked to her and found out that wasn't her grandmother. That was not her abuela. And the lady was smuggling her across the border. So we were able to stop that from happening and get her reunited with her actual parents. You know, and you go home at the end of the night, you're like, I never thought when I woke up this morning, that's what I was going to be doing.
Yeah.
But that's how I ended my day, and it was the
That's
best
cool.
feeling on the face of the earth.
That's a great story.
So that actually dovetails nicely into the next question that we got online. And I fear that I feel like I know the answer to this question, but given what you just said, what does a typical shift look like, Carrie?
I walk in, I put my bag down, and then
just
I just
start
wait for what the world
throwing
wants to throw
stuff
at me. You know, in one day at the seaport, when I worked at Newark Seaport, you know, I'd go in and we were devanning cargo out of a 40-foot container, and, you know, we found a stowaway, but the stowaway had 4 legs and was meowing at us. You know, so we found a cat that got stuck in this container
Really
in China.
thought she was going to say tiger.
No, that would have been really scary. But, you know, we saved a cat. And then we go to the next container, and it's filled with what I call Fikes, fake Nikes. Fikes. So counterfeit sneakers. So I go from saving a cat to counterfeit sneakers, and then to something else which had narcotics in it. You know, and then doing some paperwork to close it all out and just get to go home at the end of the day, which is something, you know, before CBP, I never knew when I was going home at the end of the day. I worked in retail, so I was at the whim of all the customers, but I got to go home and sit back and be like, hey, I had an interesting day today. You know, so and like I said earlier when we started, I've never really done the same thing twice on this job. It may sound like you do, you know, you're going into an airport and you're dealing with passengers, but every passenger has their own story. And in the Office of Field Operations, if you're somebody like me, as you can tell, I might like to talk a little bit. If you like to talk to people, you're going to find out about strangers. You're going to find out what's going on in their lives, you know, all that fun stuff. And it's just going to make your day fly by. And at the end of the day, you know that if there wasn't, you know, as a native New Yorker, this is near and dear to my heart, if there's not another 9/11, then I know I did my job that day. So that's the way I see it.
Those are the days to fly the best. You know, I used to work 10-hour shifts, and then they would assign overtime in 8-hour blocks. So I'd be there for 18 hours a day, and then I'd have an hour drive home and an hour drive back, and I'd do them back to back. And I remember asking the scheduling team if I could, you know, can I have an extra hour of sleep tonight? And they're like, yeah, sure, come back at 9 instead of 8 tomorrow. But those days flew, you know, walk 7 miles a day, and, you know, sweat my butt off in the summertime. I'd probably talk to 10,000 people a day, and we did everything from seasonal agricultural items to finding narcotics to deterring human trafficking to chasing people that ran through the border, to, you know, finding fraudulent documents and returning people to the Canadians in handcuffs. And those were the best days of my career, was when crazy stuff happened, and when you walk into the morning and sometimes your body armor is still a little wet from the day before when you were sweating, and you were like, oh great, that's a great start to the day. And then you just get rocking and rolling, and by noon you're like, shoot, I forgot to eat. I was having so much fun.
That was like me in Iraq, except I wasn't having a whole lot.
He doesn't remember those days.
Yeah, his body armor's still wet, and it wasn't a whole lot of fun.
Different world.
Hey, so last question for both of you, actually.
Okay.
I'm gonna start with you, Carrie. Why OFO and why did you stay?
So, like I said, I initially started, very young, working in retail. Had my fun there. I did a summer seasonal position with a local law enforcement agency, and that was my goal. I was going to go local law enforcement. And then, like I said, third generation, and my father kind of started applying for jobs for me. And I started getting these letters in the mail, these tentative selection offers from like agencies I've never heard of. I'm like, Dad, how am I getting this job? I never applied. And he's like,
I talked to somebody.
It's the government. They know things. But anyways, so I was taking a bunch of different tests, just like Andrew said before. Yeah. And I noticed the local law enforcement jobs in my area were starting to dry up. They were getting laid off. The most junior officers with budget and stuff like that were losing their jobs and having to start from scratch. Where on the federal side, we don't really have that happen. There's a lot more job stability. And the thing that really drove me to OFO was I don't have to stay in New York. I want to stay in New York at the time, but I had the ability to travel all around. I'm checking off my bucket list slowly as to where I've been. And with OFO, there's over 30 countries that we're assigned to, that we work in. There's specialized teams that we can work with. Obviously in the recruiting arena, so I get to travel all over the United States, right, recruiting and meeting people. So, when I worked with the local police department, I arrested the same person 4 times in 2 weeks. Here, I put handcuffs on somebody, I don't see them again. It's kind of a cool feeling, It's a totally different version of law enforcement than your traditional law enforcement. And then why'd I stay? Promotion potential that I wasn't even looking for when I first started. I wanted to be an officer for my entire career. That obviously didn't happen. I've moved through the ranks, but all for good reasons. The job stability, the thrift savings plan that we have. When I was 22 years old getting on the job, I wasn't thinking of retirement. That was, for old people, right? But now I'm looking at it, I'm just a few years shy of retiring, and I'm looking at my thrift savings plan, and I was like, I'm going to be a millionaire when I retire, So things you got to look at in the long run. And
she's going to get that boat.
And CBP as a whole really made a lot of those boxes get checked.
We'll be sure to inspect your yacht, too.
Yeah, we'll be there. We'll be inspecting, all right.
And then finally, how about you?
Thanks for asking. That's a dream question of mine. I wish they asked me on every interview that I was on to promote in this agency. CBP earned my respect. When I joined, I had aspirations to become a cyber special agent with the FBI. That was my dream job. If you offer me that job today, I would respectfully turn them down. There's nothing wrong with the FBI. They're a great organization too. But when I got my master's degree, which CBP helped me pay for, I started looking at other jobs in both the public and private sector. I had a master's in digital forensics. I wanted to go work for either the CIA or maybe one of the big 4, and I had aspirations to make lots of money and change the world. And I did. I applied to those other jobs around the same time that I had applied to move to the National Targeting Center in Sterling, Virginia, which is under OFO's umbrella. And so I ended up traveling down to the DC metro area and interviewing for a bunch of these other jobs. At the same time, I got my job offer and paid move to come to the National Targeting Center. And you know what? Those other jobs didn't offer me nearly the same thing I already had with CBP. I had alternative work schedule. I could basically pick my days off. I could take leave whenever was feasible for me. Things that people that work in traditional law enforcement just don't get for the first 10, 15 years of their career I had with 5 on the job. And I promoted again since then. I've got one of the best management teams that I've ever had now where I work. And truthfully, even though it didn't matter to me at the time, this agency has given me the opportunity to see what the world has to offer. I've had a passport in my hands from almost every country in the world. I've spent a lot of time getting to know people from diverse backgrounds around the world. I've met extremely qualified and intelligent people that wear the same uniform I do, or the green version of this, or handsome men in vests like yourself. There have been opportunities from this agency that were truly humbling for the 23-year-old that applied to go work in Richford, Vermont. And As hard as I try, even when I looked today, because I'll look every day at what's out there, nothing has felt right like this job feels. And if they continue to treat me with the dignity and respect that I deserve and give me opportunities to make this world a better place and to safeguard this country, then I'm going to keep doing it. There's a lot of love here.
Outstanding. And I'm feeling that love.
Yeah.
Outstanding. Hey, America, you heard it here first. OFO is the way to go.
Oh, did you just come up with that?
Hey, man, that's what they pay me for. No, really, if you are even remotely interested in an exciting, impactful career where you're making a difference each and every day, yeah, careers.cbp.gov. Give OFO a shot. You won't regret it. I'm thinking about switching from public affairs to OFO myself. Hey, stick with us. Miss Rhonda Lawson will be following me, and she's got some outstanding people from CBP's Border Protection agent, CBP Border Protection, Border Patrol. Excuse me, Border Patrol. Oops. Freudian slip. Border Patrol. You want to be with Border. You want to check out Border Patrol. You won't be disappointed. Stick around for what Rhonda Lawson has to share with you. But really, OFO, way to go. That's what you want. America, thank you for joining us, and I appreciate it. Again, careers at cbp.gov. That's where you want to go. Check that out and get started. Adventure awaits and satisfaction. Be good to each other and yourselves. Take it easy.
Thanks, Riley.
Absolutely.
That was a blast.
Working at CBP isn't like any other job. Our hiring process has several steps, but each one is necessary to make sure we're hiring people who are qualified and capable of doing this work. So if you're interested in CBP, here's what you need to know to complete our hiring process successfully for Border Patrol agent positions. Let's go step by step. First, you apply. You can find open positions through our website or usajobs.gov. You'll answer questions regarding your experience and readiness for the position and submit your resume, transcripts, and documents to verify your age and whether you're a veteran. After submitting your application, you'll be asked to complete a self-assessment called the Candidate Experience Record that tells us about your prior work experience and education. Then you'll take an entrance exam that tests your logical reasoning at an in-person facility. Both are important measures of whether you'll perform well at CBP. Then we'll review your exam results, your resume, and the other documents you submitted. Your resume is important, so be sure it's well written. It should help us understand your prior experience in education and why you're qualified and motivated to join CBP. If everything looks good, congratulations, you'll have a conditional offer. The next steps are important, and you can help your application move quickly by preparing for them and completing them on time. After you receive your conditional offer, we'll send you an email with instructions for your national background investigation and your interviews. The NBI questionnaires ask for a lot of information, and it's essential that you fill it out completely and truthfully. Failing to provide all required information the first time can significantly lengthen your hiring process. You'll also receive an email from us to initiate your medical exam. The medical exam includes a medical history review, physician exam, and a vision and hearing test. Jobs at CBP are demanding, and we need to make sure you're medically and physically capable of performing the job safely. You will be responsible for scheduling your tests and submitting your medical documentation. So make sure you submit all the documentation requested. And be aware that CBP medical staff may call or email to request follow-up information. Last but not least, we'll email you instructions for your physical fitness test. If you're concerned about passing, the physical fitness test is something you can train for before you even apply. The earlier you get started, the better. See our website for more information and a suggested training plan. Then come your interviews. The structured interview consists of a 3-person panel. They'll ask questions designed to measure your decision-making, emotional maturity, interpersonal skills, and more, seeking to understand if you have the competencies to be a successful member of our team. The pre-screening interview is designed to measure your likelihood of passing the background investigation. CBP requires every employee to be of good conduct and good character. That means all selected applicants need to go through the next 3 steps. The Polygraph helps us verify applicants have no compromising personal issues or past behavior that would reflect poorly on their ability to be a responsible, reliable member of our team. For the background investigation, an investigator will verify the information you provided on your MBI questionnaire, including interviewing you, the personal and professional references you provide, and others. The drug test will verify that there are no concerns about your use of controlled substances. See our website for more information about the polygraph, the background investigation, and the drug test. If everything looks good, then you're in. You'll receive your offer to join our community and be a part of our mission. Be prepared. Our hiring process can be lengthy, and there are some things that'll be out of your control, like the time it takes to schedule your polygraph or to review and process your exam results. But there are many things that are in your control and that you can do to help your application go through faster. Read all instructions thoroughly, provide all information requested, and complete and submit all forms and documentation as soon as possible. And we may ask you to do multiple steps at once to help speed the process along. And remember, CBP is here to help you along the way. You'll be notified of each action or step you need to complete via email. And you can contact the Hiring Center at any point if you need help or have questions. It's a rigorous process because it's a rigorous job. We're here to help and to make sure that once you're hired, you're ready to go beyond. If you're interested in applying, join our talent network to learn more, or head to careers.cbp.gov/s/search-careers to start your application.
5, 4, 3.
Hello, everyone. Hi, I'm Rhonda Lawson, Media Division Branch Chief with CBP's Office of Public Affairs. In our final segment, we'll be talking with Border Patrol. So joining me are Acting Assistant Chief of the U.S. Border Patrol Recruiting Division, Katie Griffith, and we have Border Patrol Agent Trevor Bouchard. And we have a treat because he is a brand new Border Patrol agent, so we're going to get to learn a whole lot about his experience. And then also joining us once again is Michael Russell from our HR office. So I'm just going to start with you, Katie. Can you tell us a little bit about the Border Patrol mission and why people will want to join this team?
So we're looking for people that are dedicated, patriotic, motivated, that want to protect the country, safeguard America's borders, and have a drive to serve.
All right. And what about you? Now, you are a brand new Border Patrol agent, like I said. So I think you've been with the agency for a couple of years, has it been?
Yes, 2.5 years.
Wow. So what made you decide to join this mission?
I'm from northern Maine, and up there we see a lot of Border Patrol agents out and about. And I grew up always riding ATVs, snowmobile, on boats, and you meet across Border Patrol agents often out there, and it's a great career, great benefits, and if they can get paid to be doing what I grew up doing, I'm all for it.
And it's interesting that you say that because a lot of people don't realize that Border Patrol does actually have all of those capabilities. We were talking a little bit earlier about the Horse Patrol, the K9 division, but there's more.
There's a lot more that you can do as a Border Patrol agent. It is an outside job. It's for people who are active and want to be outdoors but still want to serve their country. If you want to be a K9 agent, Horse Patrol agent, we have bikes, we have motorbikes, boats, helicopters, drones. I don't know if I said ATVs already, but we have ATVs.
That's the cool one.
That is a cool one. Obviously, you're out hiking all the time. We have specialty units like BORTAC and BORSTAR.
Not to cut you off, but for the people who may be watching and they're not familiar with BORTAC or BORSTAR, what exactly is that?
BORTAC is our tactical units. It's like a SWAT team for most law enforcement agencies. It's comparable. BORSTAR is our search, rescue, and trauma team.
Interesting. Okay, so now we do have a question that's already come into the chat. We knew that this was going to blow up when Border Patrol came out, but they're asking if a cowboy hat is required for the uniform.
It's not a requirement, although it does look great. And for a lot of people wear it for, to complete their uniform, but it's not a requirement. It is offered on our internal uniform ordering system that you can purchase it. It's not a requirement, though. A lot of the guys on Horse Patrol like to wear the cowboy hat because it completes the image,
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think I'll be hard pressed to find a Border Patrol agent in the Horse Patrol who's not wearing the cool hat.
Right.
Now tell me the truth, Trevor. Did you join because of the hat?
No.
Okay, so now we have another question coming in. How does the polygraph background test work? I guess that would be you, Michael.
Right. Well, we can talk a little bit about the whole background investigation piece of it. And remember, you're applying for a national security level position, public trust. It's a federal law enforcement position. So what the background investigation consists of, the first thing is completing the background investigation application, electronic application. We call that the EAP. You'll submit that. You'll be assigned a suitability case manager to review it. And we're kind of getting far ahead of ourselves. We're saying that you're already in the pre-employment process because they haven't even applied yet and passed the exam. Once you submit that, you'll be assigned a suitability case manager. They'll review it. 99% of the time, you don't get all the checks marked off. They'll communicate that with you. You'll make those adjustments, and that becomes the initial part of the background investigation. There'll be some preliminary checks once that gets submitted to the OPR, Office of Professional Responsibility. At that time, once those kind of clearance things come back, and then the polygraph examiner is going to give you a call and send you an email. Mm-hmm. The polygraph exam is not on the applicant portal. That's going to be communication between you and the polygraph examiner. So make sure, number one, your phone can receive voicemails. Number two, you're double checking your junk and spam folders for that message. Polygraph examiners are very busy. In fact, everybody, to onboard as a Border Patrol agent is very busy. We're all championing you to get through the pre-employment application process. So then you'll have your polygraph exam. You'll probably get a pretty good indication how you did on polygraph exam once you complete it. You'll get briefed. There's going to be a lot of orientation during the polygraph exam. We have a great video out there, and the polygraph examiners will give you a really good briefing before they actually do the official polygraph exam. Once that polygraph exam, now you have your background electronic back application submitted. You have your polygraph exam. You'll get a good indication from the polygraph examiner how you did. But that all goes under a quality review, a final suitability review. At the end of that, you'll have a background investigator reach out to you, and that'll be a face-to-face interview. There you have. And once all that is complete, that becomes the whole package, the background investigation. Now remember, folks, that you're applying to a federal law enforcement position, public trust of our nation's security. And we do everything we can to find the best folks. You don't have to be perfect.
Yeah.
You don't have to be perfect. And but we are looking good for good folks
And I'm
to
glad
serve
that you
in
mentioned
uniform.
that about not being perfect. I mean, have there been times where people may not have passed the polygraph? Does that mean that they totally can never be a Border Patrol agent?
Well, I tell you what, I'm going to leave that up to
I can chime in on that. Whenever I was 18, I signed up for Border Patrol, and the first time I went through the whole process, I got to the polygraph, and I did not pass the polygraph. It came back inconclusive, I believe. And I waited 2 years. I went to college. I got a degree in criminal justice. And, I mean, I'm still young enough at the time, so Border Patrol is a 20 to 25 year career. I'll still be able to retire at 49 years old. I signed back up, and I made it through the second time.
Well, there you go.
I'd say it took me about 5 months from the time I applied to the time I got a job offer.
Oh, 5 months?
About 5 months total, yes.
Wow. Okay, so, I mean, because we did see some questions coming in saying that people have been waiting a week. And it takes a little bit longer than a week.
You gotta go through the steps.
Yeah,
You gotta go through the
it'll take a
steps.
little longer than that.
Okay, now we have another question coming in. This person says, I have my bachelor's degree in criminology, but I've been a stay-at-home mom for 3 years. What recommendations would you have for women trying to get into law enforcement with no prior experience?
That's a great question. I did not have any experience prior to joining the Border Patrol. I was a college graduate, so I didn't have any prior law enforcement experience, no military experience. And my recommendation would be apply to the Border Patrol. Just because you don't have any actual law enforcement background, you're still eligible for the job. When I applied to the Border Patrol, there was a dog catcher in my Border Patrol class, a teacher, a doctor, and they just all wanted something new. They wanted change in their life. They were sedentary. They wanted an active lifestyle, but they also wanted some excitement. They wanted to protect their country and serve the communities that they live in. So they applied to the Border Patrol, and they're in the same position, as the rest of us.
That's wonderful. Now, while we're on the subject, it's great that, you work for the recruiting division and you're a woman. There aren't a lot of women in the Border Patrol. And somebody may be watching this today and saying, I'm glad to see her, because before this, I never would have thought that I, as a woman, could be a part of the Border Patrol. Some may think that this is only a male-dominated organization.
Right. The Border Patrol does have a low percentage of female agents. Maybe around 5 or 6% of the whole patrol is female, and that's fine. That just goes to show that it takes a special breed of individual to have the mental fortitude and toughness and resilience to have this job. And one of the great things about the Border Patrol is they have the same standards for men and women, where a lot of law enforcement agencies have lower standards for women. And so I graduated the academy knowing that I did the exact same thing as the male agents in terms of requirements and standards. So it's something to be proud of.
That's wonderful. Now, another question's come in. Is college required to be a Border Patrol agent?
No, it's not a requirement.
Well, that was easy.
If you do have a degree with a 3.0 GPA or above, you might get considered for a higher GS pay scale to get hired, but it is not a requirement.
Another question. What is the maximum age to be a Border Patrol agent?
Maximum age is 40 years old.
But what if I'm like 45, 50, and I'm like, I want to do my part? You already told me I can't join the Army. Now I want to join the Border Patrol. You're saying I'm too old for that too.
We do have an age waiver
Okay.
for
okay.
veterans with certain requirements for veterans to have to get
Yep.
the age waiver.
Yep, and certainly that, we, gosh, nearly 30% of us are veterans. I'm a retired military veteran myself.
But thank you
part
for
of the
your
C-
service. I'm a
Well,
retired veteran myself.
Oh, well, thank you. And, 10 years ago, we became part of the CBP team and family. I made that transition. And so we have a lot of service members that are out there. If you're veterans preference eligible, I'll give you what site you want to go to, Fed Hire Vets, and you'll look at transitioning service members and see if you're veterans preference eligible. If you are veterans preference eligible, the age is exempt.
Oh. Okay, now that is good to know.
Yeah.
So if I've done 20 years serving my country in the U.S. military, and then I decide that I want to serve my country in a different way by being a Border Patrol agent or maybe even OFO or AMO, I still have an opportunity.
Yep, absolutely. Yep.
That's great.
Your service doesn't have to stop. When you separate from the military, you can continue on with the Border Patrol.
Wonderful. Now, the next question. Are there any Border Patrol jobs for EMS?
Yeah, there are. We have EMS individuals, agents within the agency. BORSTAR, our Search, Trauma, and Rescue Unit, they are all medics or paramedics. They are EMT is a requirement. They're trained on that. They go to a special internal academy to learn about more about the medic side of being a Border Patrol agent in that specific field.
Now, while we're talking about the different jobs, I did want to ask you, you're working at a sector right now?
Yes, San Diego sector.
Can you talk a little bit about your daily, what's it like to work on the sector? I'm sure that there are some people wondering.
Absolutely. Whenever I signed up for Border Patrol and I was able to choose San Diego, I knew it was on the ocean. I did not realize there was big mountains like they are in San Diego. But,
There are beautiful mountains out in San
beautiful
Diego.
mountains. It's awesome. It's great work. An average day, I'd say, go to the station. You have a morning muster. All the agents come in. You hear about what was going on the past shift. You find out your daily assignment, and majority of agents will get the field. There's plenty of other opportunities to work, but if you go in the field, they tell you what zone you're going to be in, and no day is the same for sure. It depends on what the traffic is going on, and
So it never really gets boring for you.
Never gets boring for sure. No, there's always action in San Diego for sure.
Yes, I spent a couple of weeks in San Diego, and I can attest to what you said.
Yes.
Now, we did have another question that came in. What are the tattoo regulations for Border Patrol?
It's a great question. Our tattoo policy recently was revised. You can now have hand tattoos, which we weren't able. They had to stop at the cuff before.
You have a tattoo.
I do. So once the policy changed, I continued my tattoo. This is my opportunity. But we can't have face or head tattoos. That is the only restriction.
Okay, so for some people that may rule them out because I know a lot of people are getting tattoos like under their eyes or on their cheek or anything like that. Does that automatically rule them out, or are they able to have it removed? Or
They're able to have, if they're able to have that removed and they're willing to do it, then they'd be able to become a Border Patrol agent.
Okay, now another question just came in. The fitness exam, is it different for the one that's required for OFO?
It is. At the academy, when you graduate, you'll have to pass your PT final, which is a 1.5 mile run in 13 minutes or less. We have a confidence course, which is like the confidence course. We call it the C course. Obstacles, you have to complete that, and then we also have a 220-yard sprint that you have to complete.
Okay, so reminds me of my military days.
A little bit. The academy, I tell everybody, prepare yourself for the academy. It's great to go to the academy being in shape, but in Artesia, New Mexico, it's a high desert. The elevation's high, so the air's a lot thinner. So if you think you're in shape when you get to the academy, and Trevor can attest to this, it's going to be, your mile time is going to be a little bit less than it was where you came from.
Well, I know that to be a fact. As I mentioned earlier, I'm a retired Army veteran, and I spent a year in Iraq. And the first time we got to Iraq and we were doing our physical training, and we had to run, and we're running in that high elevation. We thought we were great runners, but running in that thinner air, we got tired faster. We were huffing and puffing a little bit more, so we had to actually get used to breathing in that air. And I felt like we actually ran better when we returned home.
Right. Yeah, you get acclimated after a while to the high desert and the thinner air. So it burns your lungs a little bit in the beginning.
Yeah. Yes, it does.
I'll also add too. So, additional, if you do are FON qualified, you apply, pass the entrance exam, whether you have to take it or not. We do have higher pay grades that don't require entrance exam, and you begin the pre-employment process. There will be an initial fitness test, which is comprises of 20 push-ups in 1 minute, 25 sit-ups in 1 minute, and then there's a 14-inch step test, which imagine stairs. Up and down the stairs, 120 steps per minute.
Ooh. Okay, well, I like stair climbing, so that probably won't be so bad.
I think when I went to the academy, coming from elevation about 700 to Artesia, New Mexico, and the heat, I think my mile and a half went up by about a minute.
Wow, I can believe that.
You have 6 months, you continue getting in shape, so at the academy.
Oh, well, and I think that winds up being a good thing because you do have to be in shape, especially if you are with one of the Borstar or BORTAC positions and you wind up having to do a rescue, or you may have to carry someone. Or, like you said, you're moving in extreme heat, especially like in a place like Arizona. It's very good to make sure that you're breathing well or that you're in shape.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, you find that sometimes people don't really appreciate how hot it is in a certain place until they get there. Like, people may not realize how hot it is in Arizona until they get to Arizona.
Right. It's like 100 degrees in the shade.
Yes, absolutely. Now, speaking of that, a question came in, do you have to move frequently? In other words, like, for instance, you're in San Diego. In the military, we might spend 2 to 3 years at one location or one base, and then we have to move to another base. Is that the same way for Border Patrol?
It's not. With the Border Patrol, you accept a position, and you can either stay there your whole career, or after, I believe it's 3 years, you can put in for a transfer to anywhere's available. And I believe they even came out with a swap program, so you can swap with agents potentially in the future.
Well, since you're visiting us in D.C., you probably want to come over here, right?
It's a beautiful place to visit. First time coming to D.C., so enjoying it.
Question, how does one qualify for Horse Patrol?
That's a great question. So you don't have to have horse patrol or horse experience to become a horse patrol agent. All you have to have is the desire to want to learn. The horse patrol program is internal. There has to be an availability on the unit, so there has to be a spot for you. They have an internal 6-week program training course where you learn from the ground up everything about brushing a horse to saddling, riding bareback, night practical exercises on the horses. So you'll learn everything you need to know to become a horse patrol agent within the Border Patrol's Horse Patrol Academy. You have to be off your probation beforehand. Horse patrol experience, like I said, horse experience isn't required. Is it helpful? Sure, but it's not a requirement for the unit. And so all there has to be is availability. You have to pass all the tests and requirements, the nomenclature of the saddle, of the horse, your riding techniques, everything you have to pass to become a certified horse patrol agent.
Interesting. Okay. The next question that came in is what is or was your favorite duty station?
El Cajon.
Don't make me stand out.
El Cajon Station in San Diego sector for sure.
Oh, okay. So I've got to admit, San Diego is beautiful. The mountains, the beaches, the wine country. There's a lot there.
El Cajon's no longer a station anymore, but
so that's why you said that one, because you wouldn't get in trouble.
No one's there anymore. We have all dispersed to different locations, but while that station was operational, it was hands down the best people, hard workers, It was a station in San Diego sector that was located off of the border, actual border. So we commuted down to the border to work. So it was it's just good personnel there and good work.
Are beards allowed?
They are. You can't have a beard at the academy. You have to come clean shaven to the academy. But once you graduate, you're allowed to have a beard.
Okay. Now, I know I make a lot of references to the Army because I'm sure that there are some veterans who are watching. There are people who are pending retirement or separation, and they may be thinking about coming over here. And the standards are a little different. For instance, there are shaving profiles. In other words, for people who can't shave, but they can't shape it up, so to speak. In the Border Patrol, you're allowed to have a beard, but they can shape it the way they need to shape it, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm sure you can. Do you know?
Yeah, and certainly, our grooming standards the Border Patrol's grooming standards have changed quite a bit over the last several years. Best place to look is, when you look at the announcement, the Border Patrol agent announcement, look what the grooming standards are. You can go to cbp.gov, you can type in the BPA grooming standards. But the academy will probably be a good indicator, how you should have your, the shape of your beard if you were to continue to wear a beard once you leave the academy.
Okay. Now, I have a question for you. We see a lot of, in the news right now, we see a lot of Border Patrol working with ICE, or people may see ICE out there doing one thing, they may see OFO doing something else, and all they may know is that OFO may wear a different color uniform. Can you talk a bit about the difference between Border Patrol and ICE?
Sure. So Border Patrol, obviously, is federal immigration law enforcement agency. We are the first line of defense at the physical border. So in between all the ports of entry is where we patrol. We're in remote locations, we're outside, we're in green uniforms. We're intercepting illegal entry of humans, drugs, and weapons. And we conduct rescues and humanitarian, humanitarian aid in remote locations. Whereas ICE is a completely different agency, and they have more interior immigration enforcement missions.
So when we say interior, we may see them doing more work within the United States, not so much at the borders.
Correct. Yep.
Okay, so that's an important distinction.
It is. A lot of times when I go to recruiting events, education is 50% of what my goal is that day, is educating people on the Border Patrol's mission, what we do, not only application processing and recruiting, but also in educating the public on the differences between not only Border Patrol and OFO, which happens to get confused a lot, but also more recently Border Patrol and ICE, two different agencies, similar mission statements, but completely two different agencies, and that's really important for the public to know.
Thank you for making that distinction.
Sure.
Another question came in. Are more agents needed on the southwest border or on the northern border?
Absolutely on the southern border.
Of course you would say that.
It's a lot busier on the southern border for sure, I'd say.
Yeah. Our focus is on the southern border. It is busier, but we do have agents reporting directly from the academy to the northern border. The northern border is on our job announcement, so you can, when you go to apply, you can select a northern border location if that's where you desire to go.
Okay, so for those who may not be aware, what actually is the northern border versus the southwest border? I mean, are there what states?
What states?
Right.
So Maine to Washington for the northern border.
On the Canadian border.
Mm-hmm. And then southern border would be California, Arizona, New Mexico, Texas. And then we also have stations in Florida, Puerto Rico, Louisiana, Mississippi.
And I'm glad you said Louisiana and Mississippi. I was, when I first joined CBP, I was with the New Orleans field office. I worked there for 3 years. And people were very surprised to know that we had a Border Patrol in New Orleans. Because there's not a wall there, but it doesn't mean that there's not a Border Patrol mission.
There's international waters there, and that's why we're there.
Absolutely. Thank you for explaining that very quickly. You explained it a lot better than I used to try to explain it. Now, are there benefits to, let's say I want to join the Border Patrol and I'm going to choose to go to the Southwest border. Are there any benefits to going to the Southwest border versus here in DC or in Louisiana or something like that?
Yeah, right now with the U.S. Border Patrol, every Border Patrol agent, once they successfully pass the academy, they get a $10,000 incentive. Once they get to the duty location, they get an additional $10,000 incentive, and that you're going to sign a service agreement for 3 years. If you choose to go to a hard to fill location, we call them remote, but it's not teleworking remote, but a remote. but if you want to work in a remote location, there's opportunities for an additional $10,000 incentive. So right off the bat, you graduate from the academy, $10,000 incentive that you're going to get. Yeah. First available payday after you graduate from the academy. It's going to be in your bank account. And then over that 3 years, another $10,000. You go to Hao, Arizona, and hard to fill location, you'll get another $10,000. It does require, again, a 3-year service agreement. It's not a contract, it's a service agreement.
And that's a good point. A lot of people ask me, well, is there a contract with the Border Patrol? There's no contract. You can stay as long or as little as you'd like.
That's really good to know.
Another thing, I think on the Southwest border, besides just the bonus to join those remote locations, is the experience you gain on the Southwest border. It's a lot better, a lot more experience gained on the Southwest border than on the northern border.
Yeah, I would say that from what I've seen, there is a lot of good experience because, especially when you go to a place like San Diego, because everything is there. You have an AMO mission there. You have an OFO mission there. You have a Border Patrol mission there. You have your the wall. I believe there are also horse patrols there as well.
Correct, there are.
So you can kind of see a little bit of everything. When you go to a large place like San Diego or maybe even El Paso. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't mean that the other sectors don't have anything going on, because there is definitely Border Patrol up at the northern border, and they do have an important mission, maybe a little bit different, but it doesn't make it, I wouldn't say one is better than the other. I would just say that the missions are different.
Right. It's whatever, checks the box for you. If you really want to be, if that's your hometown or you want to be closer to home, the northern border might be a better option for you. Also, on the northern border, you're going to get a different experience. You're going to get trained on snowmobiles. You're going to be getting trained on jet skis, maybe even boats, because there's more water in certain locations than there might be on a southern border location. So there's going to be completely different Border Patrol experiences on the northern border than the southern border.
Makes a lot of sense. Now, we did have a question come in. We were talking about military service a little while ago. So we got a question that came in and said, what is the buyback compensation for military service?
Yeah, we're going to talk specifically about Border Patrol and how that buyback is going to work. So if you have not retired from active duty and you're collecting your retirement pay, so let's say you did 6 years in the Marine Corps and you got out, you're inspired, become a Border Patrol agent, you have an opportunity to be able to buy that 6 years. Now, you still have to complete your 20 years as a Border Patrol agent, but then that additional 6 years will be added on top. So you'll end up retiring. Instead of 20 years, you'll be 26 years.
Right.
You do have to buy back that, we call it military service credit. You do have to buy back that time. You can prorate it over a course of your career, depending how fast you want to pay that back. But you do have to have it paid off before you're retired. So you can wait, think about it, or you can do it right away when you first end process.
Now, I remember that question coming up when I first joined CBP. I had 23 years in the Army. For me, I did not think that I needed to buy back my military time. I'm already getting a retirement check. I have 23 years. That's a large sum of money to do at one time. So in a case like that, would you say that this is more for, or is it kind of option driven, or is this really more for people who may not have retired and maybe want to buy that service?
It's certainly optional, and there's different requirements if you are collecting retirement pay, when it comes to then retiring from the federal civilian government. Yeah, certainly, I see what was pretty common. Somebody does 3 years at whatever particular branch of service they came from, they buy back that 3 years. Or, certainly, some folks, they get that mid-career itch, right? Hit that 10-year mark. What do I
You're
do?
like, okay, let me buy it all back now. I'm ready to
Do I
go.
stay in the Navy or do I join Border Patrol? And if you watch this today, you're going to join Border Patrol.
I love that.
So then you take your 10 years, you can buy back that time. And I'm telling you how quickly, your experience with CBP is going to, I can't believe it's been 10 years for me already.
Wow.
It seems like it just started yesterday.
Wow. Yeah, I have 7 years right now.
Quite fast, isn't
It
it?
does. It really does. So we had another question that came in. We were talking about boats earlier. Does AMO Marine agents and Border Patrol boat training differ?
I'm not too keen on the training part of boats, of the boat unit.
I believe that from what I've heard that the AMO helps train. Part of the training is with AMO
Okay.
for the captain's license.
Okay.
But I believe so anyway.
Yeah, I don't know a lot about. I know that the Border Patrol has boats.
We do.
That's
One of the things I was able to get crewman certified when I was on the northern border. That an opportunity that I probably wouldn't have had on the southern border was to get a crewman certified on a boat. So, and when I did my time on the northern border, that was an opportunity that was presented to me. So, just different how each border operates and the opportunities that exist.
That is true, and we were talking about Louisiana earlier, and I do know that they have boats there because, as you said, we have the international waters.
Correct. Yep. So there's a lot of boat patrol down in the south eastern part of the country for sure.
Okay. Another question came in. We're back to grooming standards. Can men have long hair? And we already asked. I think we already answered this part about whether beards are allowed. But can men have long hair?
I always refer people to the CBP website for grooming standards policy questions. It has a lot of explanation because the grooming standards, like he said, have evolved throughout the years.
They have, yeah.
So I always refer people to that website to check out.
Yeah. And, hey, listen, those are all great questions, but it really comes down to, is this job for you? Right? Do you want to protect this nation, at the borders? And what does that mean? That's a big, profound statement. Protect our nation. By protecting our frontline borders and in between those official ports of entry, you're protecting your neighborhood, your community, your city, your state, and goes on because everything trickles in. Does that make sense? So know where you're directing.
Right.
If Border Patrol, if this inspires you today, don't have having the haircut be the standard for you not serving.
Right. How important is that to you?
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. Now, I have a question for both of you, actually. You've been in different amounts of time, but has there been one opportunity or one experience that you've had in your careers that really solidified why you joined the Border Patrol? And I'll start with you, Trevor.
Absolutely. One time, maybe not, but there's definitely countless times. It's a very fun job. You get out and hike every day if you want. The job is kind of what you make it. You get a lot of freedom. I like hiking, and to get out and hike every day, it's as good as it gets to me. Also, other than just enforcing immigration laws, we're also first on scene to a lot of accidents. It's nice to be there to help out the public when they need it.
Is there a particular one specific time though that you're like, wow, I'm glad I did this?
For sure, I guess 3 weeks into the San Diego, whenever I arrived in San Diego, we were on a hike, and there was a international hiker, and he was unconscious. From heat exhaustion, heat stroke, and we had to get him airlifted out, and he would not have made it for sure if we didn't. We were not in that area. It was during a training too. We were not even supposed to be. We were just there for the training, so
Wow.
came across that.
Wow, and you contributed to saving this man.
Absolutely, yeah. We called in medevac and they came in with the helicopters. It was a good experience for all of us new guys to see that too.
Wow, wow, that is amazing. And so I'm glad you were there as well.
Yes.
Katie, I'll come over to you.
You know, there's two reasons why I joined the Border Patrol, and I think I'll start off with by saying those two reasons why. So after the attacks on 9/11 happened, I knew, first and foremost, I wanted to serve my country. I wanted to be able to protect the communities in the country that I live in, and I wanted to be able to serve and give back. The second reason I joined the Border Patrol was to continue my passion of riding horses. So being able to combine those two interests directed me specifically towards this agency. No other agency that I am aware of could fulfill those two things, right? There's not a lot of law enforcement agencies, federal law enforcement agencies, that have a mounted unit. So those check both of my boxes in terms of wanting to find a career that would make me happy, and that this career is very challenging, but it's also one of the most rewarding careers that you're ever going to have. Whether it's saving somebody from heat exhaustion, and humanitarian efforts at the Border Patrol, which highly gets untalked about, right?
Right.
We get a lot of publicity that doesn't focus on the humanitarian efforts of the Border Patrol, but we save thousands of lives a year, and people just don't realize that because we are the first responders in these remote areas. And sometimes if we don't find these people, then no one will. So we were mission driven, but we also value value life as well. So when we come across a hiker, whether it's a civilian hiker or not, or a migrant, we're going to save that life, right? And so that's why we have first responder training for immediate first aid care, and then we can call in 4-star to do advanced technical rescues and stuff like that. So
Would you say that's the one thing that people just don't understand about the Border Patrol? Because you
Absolutely.
mentioned that the public sees a lot of things in the news, which is only one aspect of what it is that you do. Would you say that that's something that people just don't understand?
right, they don't know, they don't see the behind the scenes actions that we really do. And oftentimes in natural disasters nationwide, 4-star is the first ones to get called out to be in action to save people's lives, whether it's search and rescue or recovery efforts. We're usually the first ones on scene, and that doesn't get publicized very often. So I think it's important to bring that to light.
Thank you for that. Now, we did get another question. Somebody said horses are cool, but how can I train to work with the K9s?
That's a great question too. So our K9 program is top notch, best in the country. We have detection dogs, search and rescue dogs, tracking and trailing, explosive detection dogs. We also have support K9s that we use for critical incident response situations. And all you have to do is show an interest, apply yourself, put in for the position when it opens up, and then you can get sent to the K9 Academy. And that's where you'll learn everything you need to know to become a K9 agent handler.
Now, can you actually join the Border Patrol to be a K9, or is that something something that you can get assigned to once you've gone through the basic training, so to speak?
Sure, you'll go through the academy just like everybody else. You have to pass your probationary period, and that's kind of after your probationary period is up, that's when the doors really open for you. You can put in for any specialty unit that you want to be on, whether it's at your local station or it's a sector detail or a national detail. That's really when you can start applying to be a K9 handler, to be on the horse patrol, to do intel or drones or undercover work or a chaplain or peer support. It's really like the possibilities with the Border Patrol are endless. I'd like to say it's a career without borders because the opportunities are really vast.
You guys should totally do a whole recruiting campaign called The Career Without Borders.
We'll work on that.
Relating to the K9 too, it's great to work with our K9 partners. They're trained, like you said, top notch. There's one time there was a vehicle that had loaded up illegal aliens, and the car broke down whenever they were loading up, and everybody took off running, and they called the K9 because there was one nearby, and we followed the K9 and it went about probably a couple hundred yards, and the K9 was just doing circles, and we didn't know where the bodies were, and we looked up and they're all in the trees. if it wasn't for the dog, we probably would not have found
Right.
him. We probably would not.
Oh my goodness! Yes, the canines are amazing. I've watched them in action, and it's just amazing the things that they can detect.
Very
They're a
impressive.
fantastic asset.
Yes.
Yeah.
Another question came in. These military folks are in this chat. I'm gonna tell you.
Military makes up like 1/3 of our workforce, so it makes sense for them to want to become a border patrol agent.
Yeah, and we have an amazing veteran support program.
We do.
Thought we plugged that for those of you who are wondering. But the question that came in is, how early can I apply after my military retirement? Can I apply before I retire so I have a job right away?
That's a great question.
Yep, that is a great question, and I'm going to give you kind of two different answers.
Uh-oh.
Okay, so we talk about rules. Your inspiration to apply to become a border patrol agent or become part of CBP, that should be first and foremost, right? Is the organization we want to become a part of our team. Secondly, is that if you're over 40 and you want to be 120 days out from your ETS date, because there's a rule when it comes to federal hiring. We cannot adjudicate veterans' preference until you're less than 120 days out from your ETS date. And so there's a statement of service that you're going to submit, and I only mention this because this gentleman or this lady is getting ready to retire. So if you are over 40, about 120 days out from your retirement date or your ETS date, we want a statement of service. We do have a link for that on USA Jobs on our announcement, also on cbp.gov. Take a look at that. Looks like a memorandum for record. That's the information that we need 120 days out from your retirement date. Is a good time to apply if you want to pursue a career as a federal law enforcement agent like Border Patrol.
Good to know.
Anybody else under 40? Hey, let's go. Yeah. So if you did your 3-year, 6-year, first term enlistment, or you're getting ready to transition out from being an officer and you're far from your 40th birthday, apply now. Yeah, absolutely apply now. Take all that military experience they have. You'll become very mind-like folks who will be here to receive you and make you part of our team.
I like the way you said receive. She said receive. Come on. And so a question came in. I saw on Instagram a scuba diver picture for Borstar or Bortec. What is that? So I guess they want to know if Border Patrol has scuba divers. Was that a part of Borstar or Bortec?
Borstar does have a scuba team. They're certified Borstar agents that do search and rescue and recovery operations underwater. So they practice quite often with scuba, and then let's say, for example, I'll use a specific instance. There was a boat accident in San Diego on a lake a couple years ago, and one of the individuals had fallen out of the boat, and these are just regular civilians, out on a vacation, and the body was not recovered by regular efforts. So they sent in Borstar with their scuba team to go in and find that individual, and they did.
Wow.
And they also have human remain detection dogs that can alert to remains underwater. So they did have the dog on the boat too, and that's how they helped find that individual.
Wait, did you say that the K9 was able to alert to human remains that were under the water? That
Isn't that incredible?
is incredible.
Right.
Wow.
Yep.
I don't know what to say about that. That is so cool. Every time I do one of these, I learn something new. That's something I did not know that they could do.
Pretty neat, huh?
It is. It
and
really
gives
is.
closure to the family that, it might have been who knows how long until they found that individual. But Borstar was able to go in and help, sew up that closure for the family.
Wow, that's amazing. We're back to polygraph questions. What if I fail my polygraph? Can I retake it?
Absolutely. Like it seems. I've been there. I've been there. But like I said before, with a 25-year career, I failed it, and I waited the time that it took, and you have to wait 2 years.
2 years.
And I reapplied, and it was much easier going through the application process the second time because I already knew what to expect. I mean, I went through the steps. I think there was even some tests that still were valid. You know, I didn't even have to take a couple of the tests back, and I made it the second time.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm still going to retire before 50, so that's
Right, yeah.
it's pretty crazy.
Well, one thing I do want to point out from what I'm hearing from the both of you, from all three of you, is that if you do happen to fail the polygraph, it does not mean that you're a bad person. And not necessarily a bad person. I mean, I can't speak for everybody.
No, not all the time.
Yep. That, I think it's really important, integrity being one of our values, that you're absolutely open and honest all the way through the initial application process, because we're going to ask a lot of questions up front when you initially apply, and they're going to be asked again when you do the electronic background investigation form, and then it's going to be asked again when you do the polygraph, that you're consistent and honest all the way through the application process from the very beginning to the very end until you get through that polygraph exam. Hey, we're not looking for perfect people because there's no such thing. But we are looking for good people with the good intentions to do the right thing.
Right.
I love that.
And I tell people that too. Like, be honest from the get-go. Even if I've had people ask me before, what about speeding tickets or what about deferments on student loan payments? Well, just be honest with us from the beginning. It doesn't disqualify you.
Right.
A lot of things are subjective. If you tell us that you're working on solidifying funds to pay back your student loans.
Right.
If you're working on a conclusion, then everything just to show us that you're trying, right?
Right.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
We got another question that came in about work-life balance. The question is, what is home life like for families with children in the academy? Do they get time off on the weekends to see their wife and kids or husband and kids?
Yeah.
Absolutely. When you go to the academy, I believe it's 7:30 to 4:30, and you have your evenings. You could call them if they're local. Maybe you could go see them, and you're off on the weekend as well.
Yep, and holidays off as well in the academy. So I have people ask me a lot, well, can my family go to the academy with me? They can't go to the actual academy with you because the academy is inclusive. You stay at the academy. But if you want, you can, they can rent a house or an apartment close by. There's plenty of places to live. If you really want your family to be that close to you, then, but some people, I say, it's only 6 months and it'll go by pretty fast. So just have them meet you at your duty station on the way out.
There you go. Now, I'd like to ask the same type of question about sector. You've graduated from the academy and you have moved to Arizona, you've moved to California, Texas, or where have you. How is the work-life balance once you're actually on the job?
Well, I'd say at first it's definitely you're busy at work, learning the area. With the FTU, you're doing a lot of hiking, especially in Brownfield. So you're busy at first learning the area, but there's definitely, you still have a set schedule. So you know what days you're going to be off. And I believe, I'm not sure how they do it nationwide, but in San Diego, we had the pretty good schedule at first. We had the weekends off on the field training unit. So there's pretty good work-life balance. It's 10 hours a day, 5 days a week, and you have 2 days off.
Okay, so like any other job.
Right? Yeah, like any other job, yeah. And you'll bid for your shifts, too. Once you get to your station, you can bid for your shifts. Some people really like being on midnights because it's extra money. Some people like the afternoon shift. I preferred the afternoon shift over the day shift, but some people like days because it gives them more normalcy with their family. They want to see their kids at night or they want to see their spouse at night. So you bid for your shift. Also, you put in for your days off, too. So a lot of people don't mind working the weekends because Sunday pays extra as well. So it's just up to each individual.
Especially in San Diego, the weekends are pretty busy downtown and at the beaches. So it's kind of nice to have the weekdays off.
Yeah, I can imagine. There's a lot of traffic now. I've been to, like I told you, I've been to San Diego, and that border where everybody has to drive in and out is crowded.
It's one of the busiest ports in the world.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Question. Do you have to speak Spanish already if you want to work at the southern border?
No. And
Absolutely
we're
not,
both
yeah.
great examples of that. Neither one of us.
I take it
Spanish.
you don't speak Spanish.
Yeah, we didn't before we would join the Border Patrol. Neither one of us grew up in an environment that fostered Spanish speaking. So we both actually knew French before joining the Border Patrol, which doesn't help our situation on the southern border. But you go to the academy and you will learn Spanish, and a lot of people kind of get scared at that. Oh, Spanish! I don't speak Spanish. Well, that's okay, because at the academy, the program is designed to teach a beginner from the first steps of learning Spanish to conjugating verbs and figuring out sentences, and it's very integrative. So you'll learn Spanish at the academy.
Absolutely. I think it's a great Spanish program at the academy. Go from nothing to. I'm definitely not conversational with Spanish, but I'm great. I'm good enough for my job.
You can say what you have to say.
Yeah. And I feel like a lot of people ask what the hardest part of the academy is, and I think it depends on the person. If you're out of shape, PT might be the hardest part. If
That makes sense, yes.
If you don't speak Spanish, for me, I'd say learning Spanish was one of the hardest parts. If you're bad at taking tests, maybe law class would be one of the hardest parts. Some people never even held a gun before.
Yeah. So. And that's another question we get a lot too, is like, do I need to have firearm experience? Do I need to have a concealed carry permit? You don't need to have any firearm experience, because we will teach you all those things at the academy.
Wonderful. Now, are there office or desk jobs for people with disabilities?
Yeah, that's probably more, my question too, is that, we do, and if you go to cbp.gov, you go to pathways, you'll see a section there, and it's called for folks who have disabilities. Click on that link and, take a look at, and some of those job offerings may be there. And you certainly want to talk to a recruiter. That'll be your first step. And with our National Recruitment Division, we do have a devoted group that works with people with disabilities and getting them into federal hiring. Now, for the federal law enforcement side of the house, right, to become a Border Patrol agent, the requirements, as much as what we talked about, the academy, are very physical and challenging. But for folks with physical disabilities who want to become part of the CBP team, we do have an avenue approach for you.
Okay.
Also, I'd add, with the disabilities, maybe you will know everything more about it, but once you are an agent, there definitely is jobs that are more office-like, doing the cases, and prosecutions.
Sensors.
Yeah.
But we're not telling you guys to start looking for that type of job as soon as you join. That's probably not going to happen.
Some agents end up on light duty because they get injured, and so they have to get into a role that is supportive of a law enforcement role, like calling out sensors, or doing something like with casework, right? So you're not out in the field and you're physical, but those positions do exist, but they're supportive.
But that's what I'm saying. I mean, those positions do exist, but if you're just joining the Border Patrol, it's probably not likely that that's the first job you're going to get.
Right, no. I mean, this is a very demanding career, very active career.
Yes.
You're signing up because you want to be outside. You want to be protecting the country. You don't want to be in an office sitting somewhere.
Another question, is being in the Border Patrol like being in the military? I'm telling you, the military, you're going to get a lot of applications from the military.
I have not been in the military either, so I can't. I
wow.
can't speak. But a lot of times we've been called a paramilitary organization, just because, like at the academy, there's marching. You're going to learn to run in cadence. You're going to say yes, sir, no, ma'am.
Okay.
So that you're going to have a uniform check on a parade deck. So it's kind of like if you've been in the military. So there's similarities, right? But once you hit the field, like you had said earlier, you have a lot of freedom.
Absolutely.
And you're, self-governing to do whatever you want. But I can't speak on what it's like being a veteran.
Okay.
Sorry, guys.
I think very specific to the job that you had when you're in the military. A lot of infantry folks, or your special operations, where you're working remotely, small groups of folks, your team that you're working with, this may be very familiar to you, what's going on with the U.S. Border Patrol mission. But there's, 30% veterans. strong. You know, says a lot about CBP and our organization.
I agree.
And everybody that was in the military, I believe, at the academy, they enjoyed their time at the academy almost. They said it was like a vacation compared to it's based on the military, I think, but they definitely fit in.
Yeah, it's familiarity, like between the military and the Border Patrol.
Yeah, it makes it an easy
Transition,
yeah, for sure.
Okay, makes sense. Is there some type of a bonus for people who are fluent in Spanish?
No, it's not.
We just thank you for knowing another language.
Ahead of the game at the academy. Yeah, you just have a big advantage.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for helping us when somebody comes to the border and we can't speak the language.
There's a person that we go to.
You'll be leading the study group.
Right.
There you go.
It's one less thing to have to study for.
That's true. Yeah, one less thing at the academy that you have to worry about.
Okay, so one last question, because believe it or not, we have reached the end of the hour. It goes really quickly. But I know we kind of touched on this a little earlier, but and we're going to ask you as well as a civilian employee of CBP. They want to know what's a day in the life.
Well, I can talk a little bit about my journey. You know, separated from the military, retired from the military back in 2015. Before I retired, before that, I applied to CBP. In fact, I looked at many different agencies, and it came down to CBP. I liked the mission; it made sense to me. The values that they have is felt very familiar to me, and then making that transition from the military, you know, to CBP made sense to me. I started out at the CBP Hiring Center as an HR specialist. I managed Border Patrol Agent announcement, CBPO announcement, the Customs Border Protection Officer announced, CBP Tech, some of these auxiliary positions that we have, the U.S. Border Patrol, the Border Patrol Processing Coordinators, CBP Technician, and then agricultural specialist and helping with the qualifications, and then Veterans Preference Adjudication. Was a big bulk of my everyday processing at the hiring center. I was influenced by Border Patrol agents that I met over the last 9 years. I've been with the National Recruitment Division, by the Border Patrol agents and the missions they had, and quite frankly, it's their personalities that every Border Patrol agent has, you know, that I see, is become a part of the recruiting effort. For Border Patrol. So it just made sense. So that transition, so from human services to recruitment and working with fine agents, you know, and opportunities like this is really a blessing.
Nice. Katie?
I just think this is a really rewarding career for anybody who wants to serve. And if you didn't get to serve in the military, here's your chance to give back to your country. And that's why I joined. You know, circling back to my story, is I joined because I wanted to protect the nation and the communities that my family and I lived in. And CBP's mission is important to me. And also, like it was discussed earlier with OFO and AMO, this is a family environment. I know that might sound cliche, but some of my best friends that I consider family are Border Patrol agents. You spend a lot of time with these people at work, several hours a day, 5 days a week, and they become the people that you rely on, that you call when you need something. You're going to their kids' birthday parties, graduations. They become your family members, and I really cherish that, because they've picked me up when I've been down, and really great support system that is within the agency. Like I said, Border Patrol agents, some of my best friends. So
Love that.
yeah.
Absolutely, I agree with that for sure. One of the best things for me, some people take vacations to go hiking. Some people take vacations to go ride snowmobile, ATV. I get paid to do that every day.
Love it.
It's one of the greatest parts of the job for sure. The views in the mountains, the job itself is great. We go out hiking, look for footprints, and you follow footprints for hours, sometimes 4 or 5 hours, and when you finally catch up to the people you're looking for, it's really rewarding. It's great.
That's wonderful. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we've been talking with Border Patrol Agent Trevor Bouchard. Acting Assistant Chief of the U.S. Border Patrol Recruiting Division, Katie Griffin. That's a mouthful, but I love saying it. And we've also been talking with Michael Russell from the CBP Hiring Center. And I just want to thank all of you for joining us today. My name is Rhonda Lawson, and I want to thank you for joining us and talking about CBP careers. I hope that you've enjoyed learning about all the incredible work that CBP is doing and how you can become a part of the team. And if you're ready to take the next step, visit careers.cbp.gov for details about job openings, qualifications, and the applications process. You can also register for the DHS Career Fair and the CBP Hiring Fair that's also coming up later this month. So on behalf of CBP's Human Resource Management Office and the Office of Public Affairs, thank you for spending your time with us today. We look forward to welcoming you to the CBP team. Thank you.
That's great.
Good job.